Chapter-221 quote. Immediately, Nami was speechless, thinking about the reason why Chin Luo flinched. There were also her own problems. If she hadn't been too fierce to him, she wouldn't be like this. Now how to do? You can't stop kissing, can you? My mouth is pouting a little tired. Looking at the big pig's hoof in front of her, Nami became more and more angry, and gradually became angry. It took over her brain. Do not care. Take the initiative. Nami directly held Chin Luo's cheek and touched it like a dragonfly. After kissing, Nami felt that her little face was a little hot, and she was so embarrassed that she hurriedly buried herself in Chin Luo's arms, not daring to raise her head to look directly at him. He even took the initiative to kiss him. God. So shy. I wonder if Chin Luo will feel that he is a little frivolous. But he didn't respond for a long time. If he didn't take the initiative to attack, wouldn't he be wasting his feelings? It takes a lot of courage to know that you can make such a decision. Regardless of. If he thinks he is frivolous, he should just shut his mouth. The big deal is to be a nun for life. At this time, Chin Luo was stunned. He didn't expect Nami to take the initiative to attack, but the beautiful moment ended too soon, and he didn't even taste what Nami was like. Chin Luo glanced at Nami, who was in his arms, and buried her head deeply in her arms. Although Cece's hair covered her cheeks so that she couldn't see what she looked like at the moment, she didn't need to think about it to know this bitch. His face was definitely red, and it was still hot. But, say something. This woman is really pure like a pool of water, and she is so excited that she is so cute. Chin Luo leaned into Nami's ear and said softly, Nami was actually not called a kiss just now. Nami in her arms was stunned for a moment, then raised her head cautiously, her eyes full of confusion. Wasn't that a kiss just now? Crazy. Mouth to mouth, boo, is a kiss. Looking at Nami's dazed expression, Chin Luo showed a smile and said softly, I know you have a lot of doubts now. It's okay to go back. I'll teach you well. In an instant, Nami's face was as red as a pig's liver, and she was ashamed, angry and anxious, but she couldn't help it, because Pandora's box had been opened. Just like when she was in love just now, she had hugged him for the first time, and her whole body was numb. Same as power over. Now. Just hug and hug, as long as you don't move your hands or feet. In the hot spring, the two got a little warmth. Nami took a peek at Chin Luo and opened her mouth. But recently, she couldn't say anything. Finally, Nami summoned her courage and asked Chin Luo, Hey, you, how do you know so much about kissing, shouldn't you? It's on the book, Chin Luo explained. What book? Who wrote it? I'll check it when I go back. If I don't find it, I'll blow your dog's head off. Nami said with a fierce expression on her face. Seeing Nami's coquettish and angry appearance, Chin Luo was a little fascinated, and couldn't help but say, she looks so good even when she's angry. Immediately, Nami's anger has subsided by more than half, although her heart is quite sweet, but her face still has a fierce look on her face. Idiot! He scolded softly, then slowly approached Chin Luo, and fell into Chin Luo's arms naturally. Holding the hot Nami, Chin Luo leaned into her ear and said softly, You were not like this before. I remember the first time I touched your hand. My dear, your face is so red that it's going to explode. Involuntarily, it slid into my arms. It's all your fault. Nami explained this question, but she didn't know how to answer it, so she simply used a universal vocabulary to refute Chin Luo's words. Yes, it's all my fault, Chin Luo said helplessly. At this time, Nami rested her head on Chin Luo's chest, felt his heartbeat, and asked softly, Idiot. Do you think there are many kinds of kisses? There are elementary, intermediate, advanced and ultimate versions. Chin Luo said seriously, we just had the elementary version. It's just. Tap it, Nami asked. So, what about the mid-level version? This. Chin Luo pondered for a while and said indifferently, I can't tell. How about we seek answers in practice? Quote. Stinky rascal. Nami raised her head, glared at Chin Luo fiercely, and said angrily, I don't want to practice with you. So shy. It's just, can't do it on its own. Nami's heart beat like a deer, and the picture she imagined made her feel a little dizzy. 2. Chapter-222-240. At the same time, Chin Luo's mind is full of soup dumplings, thinking that he has not eaten soup dumplings for a long time, especially crab yellow soup dumplings. No. Be sure to make crab roe soup dumplings when you go back. But spring is when the hairy crabs just wake up from hibernation. The crabs in this season have no meat at all. What should I do now? Nami looked at Chin Luo quietly and found that he was in a daze, but the expression was sometimes expectant, and sometimes it was dazed. For a while, Nami misunderstood, thinking that this bastard was fantasizing about developing an intermediate stage with himself, but because of his stubbornness, he became a little caught off guard. Alas! Chin Luo. What are you doing in such a hurry? I've already kissed you. The rest of the intermediate, advanced, and ultimate, it's just a matter of time. Besides, can't we let people slow down? Just finished the beginner level and can't wait to experience the intermediate level, no matter who. Can't stand it. Fool. Super Chin Luo. But I like this idiot. Hello. Idiot, Nami asked softly. Huh. What's wrong? Chin Luo asked curiously. Nami opened her mouth, but only said the word, I. At this time, looking at Chin Luo's confused face, she calmed down. Hurriedly said, I want to treat you to a soup dumpling. Quote. Words fell. It was buried in Chin Luo's arms in an instant, and his heartbeat was so fast that it was about to explode. Chin Luo was stunned for a moment, thinking all over his head. Are there soup dumplings here? But when he noticed Nami's extremely shy look, he immediately thought of what it meant. Immediately, gently pinched Nami's chin, and slowly lifted it up in front of him. Looking at her extremely shy appearance, Chin Luo was moved. Nami. You are so beautiful. As soon as the voice fell, Nami started her first practical class in her life. Chin Luo hugged Nami. Nami blushed and said, Go away. Don't hold me. Chin Luo silently released his arm and looked at Nami with a smile. Hee. This lovely little woman. I love this kind of stubbornness. However, when Nami, who lost the hug, suddenly felt a sense of loss, she pursed her lips gently. And said silently, Hold me. Oh. Then he held Nami in his arms again. Huh. I found a secret, Chin Luo said softly, leaning into Nami's ear. What secret? Nami asked. Chin Luo didn't speak. He slowly raised his hand, stretched out his index finger, touched Nami's lips, and said, It's a little sweet. In an instant, Nami was wrapped in a strong sense of shame, and hurriedly buried her head in the arms of the big pig's hoof. I don't listen. Facing the suddenly shy Nami, Chin Luo couldn't resist such a visual impact at all. Nami bit Chin Luo's shoulder. But it's just a token bite, and it doesn't take much force. Idiot. Go back. Nami glared fiercely, got up silently, and left the hot spring room. Chapter 223 7 days later. Onigashima. Late at night, there is some haze. At this time, Chin Luo has quietly touched the weapon processing factory of the 100 Beast Pirates. Inside the factory, a pillar is reprimanding his subordinates, all cheer me up, it's not peaceful recently. The first Emperor pirates are attacking us crazily, especially at night. No one is responsible for you when you die. Stop. In the factory manager suddenly drank one of his subordinates. When did you come? Why haven't I seen you? What's your name? I am the first Emperor Chin Luo. PFF'd. With a flash of knife light, the factory director's chest was splattered with blood, and he rolled down the stairs with a miserable wailing. First Emperor Chinluo is here. Onigashima, the headquarters of the Beast Pirates. What? Found the first Emperor Chinluo. It's news from the weapons factory. Kaido of the Beasts 26 grabs his mace and prepares to transform into a dragon. The factory has now been bombed and the factory manager has also been killed. Ah! Kaido of the Beasts slapped the table and smashed the side of the stone chair under him. Tell me that again. Factory. Boom. Just as he spoke, the poor subordinate was kicked out by Kaido, leaving a long white waterline on the distant sea. Gecko raised his head and howled like a werewolf. First Emperor Chinluo, I, Kaido of the Beasts, are at odds with you. At night, the firelight illuminates the sky. This cannonball is really loud. Watching the fire from the weapons factory from a distance, Chinluo, whose ears were numb, couldn't help but sigh. Even an ordinary factory explosion can make the villagers in the surrounding villages hear the sound, not to mention this is a weapons factory. A large amount of gunpowder and various raw materials were hoarded inside, and the spectacular scene at the moment of the explosion was almost comparable to a small nuclear bomb. Of course, gunpowder does not trigger a series of nuclear chain reactions like a nuclear bomb, so the subsequent power will definitely not be comparable to that of a nuclear bomb. Gecko is bright and starry, and it is about 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. Weapons factory. Kaido of the Beasts sat on the ground like a stray child, crying. I'm a factory. I'm a weapon. The only person watching was Jin, the fire calamity. The other pirates were either killed by the explosion in the factory, or they hadn't come here because they couldn't fly. The phone worm rang, and after a couple of conversations, the flames hung up. On this side, Chinluo met the Plague Queen and confronted each other. What is the easiest ability to leapfrog and kill? That is poison. In the face of the Plague, even Marine Admiral did not dare to slack off. Plague took a sip of the cigar in his mouth and exhaled a cloud of smoke. I knew you were coming here. The Plague seems to have a plan, and it seems that some kind of preparation is being carried out. So confident. Do you think you can really kill me or catch me? Chinluo responded to the Plague. It's now. The Plague suddenly shouted, rushed to Chinluo, and fought with Chinluo. At first, Chinluo was stunned by this shock, but soon Chinluo felt that something was not right, as if nothing special. But as the Plague forced Chinluo to a suitable position, the entire area suddenly had continuous violent explosions. Poison thunder detonates. At night, in Gecko. Onigashima, shrouded in dense fog, exudes an eerie atmosphere. Poison thunder detonates. Plague Queen's roar sounded almost at the same time as the violent explosion in the field. Boom, boom, boom. As if a series of chain reactions had been triggered, the battlefield where Chinluo and the Plague were fighting was shrouded in thick gunpowder smoke caused by the explosion in an instant, making it impossible to see the situation between the two fighting clearly. No, it's not gunpowder, it's poisonous fog. The pitch-black poisonous mist radiated a crystal purple sheen under the light of the bright Gecko, and the green grass on the ground began to wither and rot at an incredible speed, and eventually turned into a black viscous disgusting liquid. As one of the big signs of the Beast Pirates, the Plague Queen's ability is very strange. He is not only a genius who is proficient in mechanics and biochemistry, but also a zone devil fruit ability, and his ability is to control toxins and bring plagues to the world. At the moment of the explosion, Chinluo activated all the electromagnetic force in his body combined with the magic power of the Aurora to wrap himself tightly in the electromagnetic barrier. Chinluo, who was wrapped in the poisonous mist, was like a boat, shaky. The energy and the poisonous mist constantly collided and contested, and there was a harsh sound like pouring cold water on a red-hot iron pot at the intersection. See. A puff of white smoke suddenly rose from Chinluo's feet. Chinluo looked down and saw that his military boots were dissolving at a speed discernible to the naked eye, and it would not be long before he would stand barefoot on the plague-ridden earth. The ability of Magellan, the warden of the deep-sea prison Impel Down, is Venom, which is an ability that even Marine Admiral can't rely on his body and armament hockey to resist. The toxicity of the plague is not weaker than Magellan. Chin Luo is very clear in his heart that once the toxin touches his skin, I am afraid that he will really be buried in Onigashima today. This battle must be resolved quickly. Fighting against an opponent who can control the plague, the longer you delay, the worse it will be for you. Chin Luo slammed the ground with force under his feet, and the whole person shot out like a sharp arrow. On the ground, Chin Luo's military boots attached to the venom left a corrosive and disgusting sticky object. At this time, Chin Luo it seems that he has become a barefoot fairy. Plague, Queen who was instantly approached by Chin Luo couldn't help shrinking his pupils. Before he had time to parry, he saw Chin Luo punched out, slamming into the abdomen of the plague, directly knocking the body of the plague. It bent like a shrimp, and flew out in an instant, breaking a solid stone pillar, and a loud noise broke out. Sure enough, the goods themselves are also wrapped in toxins. After the plague was knocked out, Chin Luo himself was not very happy. The toxin on plague's body climbed up Chin Luo's fist like a maggot in the tarsus, and then he was trying to invade his arm and his body. Fortunately, Chin Luo had already used Rey's electromagnetic barrier to cover his entire body when he attacked, just like a layer of chemical protective clothing to resist the invasion of toxins. The energy barrier composed of lightning particles and the toxin of the plague launched a fierce battle in the microscopic world invisible to the naked eye. In the macroscopic world, it was like two groups of colored and dark purple energy colliding together, eroding and confronting each other. Chapter 224 Cough cough. The plague that was knocked out pushed away the ruins that were pressing on him. His face was full of pain, but more than that, it was incredible. This is the first enemy other than Lord Kaido that he has encountered since he went to see who can fight him in the poisonous fog of his plague. With doubts and unwillingness in his heart, Plague transformed into the orc form of the Zone Devil Fruit ability, and turned into a black plague whirlwind that quickly approached Chin Luo, and fought with Chin Luo again. In fact, the plague is very strong, and he is not weak at all. In the Pirate Emperor level pirate group, the top 3 top cadres in strength are all super strong who can deal effective damage to Marine Admiral and even fight with Marine Admiral for a period of time. Them and Marine Admiral is the difference in physical strength. Whether it is explosive power, stamina or vitality, Marine Admiral and the 3 Emperors of Pirates are already at the top level in this sea. This is the limit of the One Piece King of Pirates world. There is no way to improve it. No one can break this limiter. The poisonous fog of death. Plague opened his mouth wide, and a foul-smelling green gas was sprayed towards Chin Luo from his mouth like the exhaust of an airplane. In fact, Chin Luo, who stinks or not, doesn't know at all, this is just his first feeling when he sees the fog. After all, Chin Luo didn't want to inhale even a shred of poisonous mist into his body. Chin Luo stepped on the ground with his feet and made a sound similar to lightly tapping on glass. Chin Luo's boots have been corroded by venom, and Chin Luo has long since become a barefoot fairy. Now Chin Luo used the Aurora to turn into a pair of Aurora boots on his feet, and transformed into a Cinderella wearing crystal shoes. But even with the Aurora crystal shoes, the toxin of the plague still climbed up the heel tirelessly, trying to touch Chin Luo's body. While fighting against the plague, Chin Luo also needs to be alert to the toxins under his feet. It is almost time for a golden cicada to escape, and he quickly put on a new pair of Aurora crystal shoes. Woo, diaresis. Covered in venom, the plague roared into a pitch-black monster, sticking out his long tongue like a sharp sword and stabbing Chin Luo's body. He already felt that even if he couldn't pierce Chin Luo's head, as long as he pierced Chin Luo's mysterious colored barrier, he could also reverse the overall situation of this battle. Facing the terrifying plague under the moonlight, Chin Luo's right hand flexed his fingers, and a large number of Aurora converged on his right arm, and in the blink of an eye, a red flame divine phoenix was transformed. Flaming Feather Flame Phoenix. Kai Yu Yanwang roared towards the rushing plague, wrapped in a blazing red flame arc, majestic and unstoppable. This blazing flaming phoenix is a pure flame energy body, just like Kuzan's pheasant beak, and Akainu's dog-biting crimson lotus. Qin Luo's blazing flaming phoenix has only one purpose: to descend like the sky. The general thunder force smashes the enemy in front of you. Roar tilde. A whistling sounded, and the blazing feather flame phoenix wrapped around the arc of red flame was majestic, opened its bloody mouth like a prey, and slayed the plague queen who was attacking Qin Luo. Seeing the majestic blazing feathered flame phoenix vermilion bird, Plague's brain could not help but be in a trance. Although the brain of the plague has recovered its clarity in the next instant, the flaming phoenix Suzaku has already come to the front of the plague. A hurry, the plague can only use the powerful body of the Zone Devil Fruit ability and armament Haki to resist hard, but how can the flaming phoenix Suzaku be an ordinary bird? The powerful burning power of unextinguishing light, the ferocity with the electric current makes this flaming phoenix Suzaku have a very strong bite force. Even if it is steel, it will be as fragile as tofu in front of this blazing flaming phoenix Suzaku. Plague's body is tall and fat, coupled with his deliberate avoidance. The blazing feather flame phoenix vermilion bird that bit the plague's head ended up only biting on the plague's abdomen, but even so, accompanied by thorn sound, Plague's body was still torn off a large piece of flesh by the Kai feather flame phoenix vermilion bird, and blood suddenly gurgled out. The pain and anger caused the plague to burst into a high-pitched roar. His fists clasped together, and smashed the divine bird in front of him, smashing the blazing feathered flame phoenix vermilion bird with a bang. Gorgeous streamer debris. Qin Luo followed the flaming phoenix Suzaku, and just as he was about to attack, a sense of crisis that made his scalp numb instantly flooded into his heart. Venomous blood. Spilled from Plague's body turned into a black poisonous mist. Haki reminded Qin Luo that these black poisonous mists are probably several times stronger than other poisonous mists. Plague's body was instantly surrounded by venomous blood, successfully forcing Qin Luo back. The two confronted each other from a distance again, continuing to look for each other's flaws and opportunities to re-attack. Plague's face is a little distorted. Although he is a Zone Devil Fruit power user, his vitality is very powerful, but this does not mean that he is immune to pain. The part where the chunks of flesh and blood were torn off was really painful, and the plague felt as if his abdomen had been torn open, and his internal organs seemed to be shattered. At the wound, there was even a large amount of scorch due to the high-energy flame, and the plague experienced double the pain in the same wound. Wang Nujiao. This plague is still a man. Even if it is double the pain, he can hold on to not snoring, but he thinks more and more calmly about the battle just now in his mind. What was the feeling just now? Could it be the suppression of the devil fruit's ability? Shouldn't it be? There was a trace of doubt in Plague's heart. Why was he in a trance just now? In Zone Devil Fruit, there are actually many more detailed classifications. To put it simply, there is a difference between herbivore and carnivore. Herbivore fruit people have a natural fear of carnivorous animal fruit ability. However, these can be overcome through exercise, especially for a powerhouse at the level of Plague. How could he leave himself such a disadvantage, not to mention that Plague is a mythical devil fruit ability. Chapter 225 However, Plague threw away the cigar and looked at Qin Luo with resentment. If I can kill you here, even if it drags you to the return of Lord Kaido, it will be worth it this time. Qin Luo raised his left hand above his head and said to Isho, the plague, do you look at this starry sky, does it look good? Plague is unknown so, it's pretty. Wait and you'll feel prettier. Before Qin Luo finished speaking, the stars that were originally still in the sky like background paint began to flicker, just like blocks of super large fluorescent screens, starting to flash with different rays of light. From a distance, it seemed like the end is coming. Flame streamer storm. The strong wind from high altitude suddenly blew towards the area where Qin Luo and Plague were located. The poisonous mist created by the plague swept towards the base camp of the beast pirates under the blowing of the strong wind. For a moment, the pirates wailed all over the place, and the screams continued one after another. Under night. Originally created by the plague, Queen was blown towards the base camp of the beast pirates by Chin Luo's flame streamer storm, causing a series of miserable screams. The flame streamer storm is a colorful luminous phenomenon, which occurs when the stream of charged particles from the sun, solar wind, enters the Earth's magnetic field. These high-energy charged particle streams, solar wind, excite or ionize molecules or atoms in the upper atmosphere, and then produces brilliant and colorful beauty. There are three conditions for the generation of flame streamer storms: atmosphere, magnetic field, and high-energy charged particles, all of which are indispensable. Among them, magnetic field and high-energy charged particles are the origin of Chin Luo's electromagnetic force and high-temperature aurora sword. After the formation of the aurora, a strong discharge phenomenon sometimes occurs within the scope of the aurora, which is the origin of Chin Luo's derivative ability, the lightning ability. Solar wind is the most difficult ability to control in the production conditions of aurora. Wind on the Earth are not complicated. Because of the temperature difference, a large number of air molecules produce violent molecular thermal motion. Coupled with the binding of the Earth's gravity, these gas molecules generate wind when they flow. The solar wind is different. The composition of the solar wind is high-energy charged particles, rather than gas molecules. Generally, in the interstellar space near the Earth, there can be several to dozens of particles per CGAC, cubic centimeter. The density of the wind on Earth is 268.7 billion molecules per cubic centimeter. Although the solar wind is very thin, because its energy is unmatched by gas molecules, it blows very violently, far better than the wind on the Earth. On the Earth, the wind speed of a typhoon of class 12 is more than 25 meters per second, while the wind speed of the solar wind is often maintained at 50 to 50 meters per second near the Earth. Kilometers are tens of thousands of times faster than the Earth's wind speed, and can reach more than 800 kilometers per second at the most violent. Of course, all of this is just the power of nature. Just as Kizaru is far from reaching the true speed of light, Chin Luo is far from being able to release the solar wind with his mortal body. In fact, Chin Luo's flame streamer storm is just a derivative move of aurora fruit. Using the ultra-high energy carried by the starlight particles, Chin Luo used his own computing power to change the temperature difference of the atmosphere in the air, so that the air molecules generate corresponding thermal motions to trigger the flow of air at different temperatures, thus forming the current situation where he deals with the plague Queen's move. This is the base camp of the beast pirates. Chin Luo used strong wind to blow away the poisonous mist, so he didn't need to worry about accidentally hurting innocent people. This was a result of the plague that was far from expected. There should be no wind tonight, otherwise the plague would not be able to use his poisonous gas moves recklessly. But now, under the influence of this marine's ability, he has poisoned a large area of his own people, and the plague is so angry that his teeth are itchy, and he can't wait to bite Chin Luo to death. Sure enough, the fresh air smells the best. Chin Luo lifted the aurora electromagnetic barrier that shrouded his whole body. Now that there is no poisonous mist, he only needs to prevent the venom of the plague from splashing directly on his body. The lightsaber transformed by the power of thunder and lightning in his hand appeared again, and Chin Luo could finally let go of his hands and feet to fight the plague, and he no longer needed to be as careful as before. The Logia devil fruit gives the ability to elementalization, and they are only immune to physical attacks, and chemical attacks, such as toxins, are not immune. In fact, this is very easy to understand. It is like a pool of clear water. When a fist hits the water will be scattered by the fist. When the fist leaves, the scattered water will return to its original position. This means that physical attacks cannot damage Logia's ability. Principle. The chemical attack of toxin is different. When venom is injected into water, the water itself will not be harmed, but this pool of water will be polluted by venom and become a pool of poisonous water. If the pool water is replaced by a Logia-capable person, it is equivalent to the toxins are left in the body of the capable ones. Although Logia-capable people have the ability to elementalize, they are still a person in essence. Those with snow fruit ability can be frozen to death, those with burning fruit ability can be burned to death, and the toxins in their bodies can also poison those with Logia ability. Crocodile, the sand crocodile during the war, would not have been chased by Poison Man, Magellan and fled. Only the Thunder Cloud, Zeus and Sun, Prometheus created by Big O Charlotte Linlin using her soul fruit ability are immune to these non-physical attacks, because they are not a creature, they are essentially a mass of elements. Even so, Thundercloud, Zeus and Sun, Prometheus are not completely invincible. Using the elements that restrain them can also hurt them, and those with the Wonquan fruit ability can directly cause real damage to them. Damn! The enraged Plague Queen muttered in a low voice. The subordinates also lost large pieces in a short period of time. The most unbearable thing for him is that a large piece of his abdomen was accidentally torn off by the flaming phoenix vermilion bird, which has affected his strength to a certain extent. He is not the Phoenix Marco thinks. Recovering from an injury is not that easy. Plague roared, his whole body swelled up, and the bones in the flesh seemed to crackle. His originally strong body became bigger again, and he had already used the Zone Devil Fruit ability. Awakened ability. The plague complexion in the night was distorted and looked ferocious and terrifying, and his body was also covered with poison and poisonous mist, making it impossible to see his specific appearance at all. What kind of fruit power is this? Chapter 226_. What kind of fruit power is this? The ability of the Plague Queen has not yet been confirmed. Facing this strange poison, Qin Luo had to be cautious. Poisoned Shadow Needle. I don't know if it was some kind of mechanical hidden weapon or fruit ability. From the Black Plague, dense poisonous needles erupted, covering Qin Luo's position like a salvo of arrows. Qin Luo erected an aurora barrier in front of him to resist the storm-like attack of the plague. The poisoned shadow needle pierced the aurora barrier, making a sound like needles piercing glass. Qin Luo's aurora barrier was not a shield, but a wall that completely blocked the poisonous shadow needle of the plague. Although he couldn't resist all the time, Qin Luo was not a passive beating character. Qin Luo, who was behind the shield, had already flown into the sky, holding the Aurora sword in his hand and falling from the sky, killing the Plague Queen on the ground like a meteor. Without the restrictions of the poisonous fog, Qin Luo, who let go of his hands and feet, became more and more brave. Damn! Plague cursed secretly in his heart, and he couldn't even say the cruel words. Originally, he had no chance of winning Qin Luo, and coupled with the limitation of the abdominal wound, the balance of this battle had already begun to sink towards his losing side. PFF'd. The golden sword light flashed, and another scar was added to Plague's body. The purple-black blood rushed out, Qin Luo hurriedly dodged, and the occasional blood drop was blocked by Qin Luo's aurora electromagnetic barrier. Just as Qin Luo's figure turned back again, and when Lakey cut into Plague's head in his hand, a huge figure fell from the sky. Damn, have I been reduced to the point where I need the 6 sons of the Vali to save me? The foot of Mount Tarzan. Accompanied by a rough voice, a huge figure fell from the sky, like a meteorite, falling straight to Qin Luo next to Plague. Qin Luo's figure exploded in an instant, and with the loud sound of bang, a deep pit was stepped on the place where Qin Luo was in an instant, and around the huge soles of feet, the earth produced a cobweb-like dense crack, towards the spreading out in all directions. Even the gigantic body of the plague was shaken to the side by the violent shock wave. If Qin Luo was stepped on by this foot, he would be seriously injured or not, he would definitely be spitting blood. In the smoke and dust, a tall and sturdy figure gradually emerged out of his outline. Tyrannosaurus Rex has a domineering head, a small giant-like body, a strong dinosaur tail, and dinosaur claws glowing coldly under gecko. Zone, Dinosaur fruit, ancient species, Tyrannosaurus rex form ability. Some people may be curious, since they are already dinosaur fruits, why add the suffix of ancient species? Are there any modern species? There are still many modern species of dinosaurs living on the island called Little Garden, in the first half of the Great Root. The thunderlight flickered and gradually condensed Shinluo's figure in the distance. He was not in a hurry to attack and counterattack, because observation hockey reminded him that it was not only the Tyrannosaurus rex in front of him who came to support the Plague Queen. Sure enough, 4 tall and strong men soon appeared next to Plague, all of them possessing the same Zone Devil Fruit abilities, such as saber-toothed tigers and raptors. The Plague Queen, who climbed up from the ground, wiped the black blood from the corner of her mouth, and gritted her teeth. Damn, have I been reduced to the point where I need to be rescued by the 6 sons of the sky? One of them, who looked like a saber-toothed tiger, replied, Queen, you look down on our Valley 6 sons too much. Are the 6 strongest among the pillars of the 100 beast pirates. In terms of status, they are lower than the 3 major brands, but in terms of strength, the best among the 6 volleyballs may not be the opponents of the 3 major brands. In a pirate group, it is not necessary to be able to rank in the front. Just like the promotion of Marine requires military merit, the promotion of pirates also requires qualifications. Champion, Buggies, the captain of the first team in the Blackbeard fleet, can become the first team captain because of his earliest qualifications to follow Blackbeard. In the mature Blackbeard fleet, his strength is even in the top 5, not necessarily in the lineup. Diamond Jozu, the captain of the 3rd division of the Whitebeard pirates, can hang him. The hateful first emperor Shinluo dared to come to Onigashima alone. With the roar of boom rumble, a pterosaur flying in the air roared. With the return of the pterosaurs, the 6 Linkong sons of the 100 beast pirates finally gathered together. Pejuan, the spiky-backed dragon, among the 6 sons in the sky, shouted, Brothers, the first Emperor Shinluo's ability is really difficult to deal with. Let's go together now, and we have to find a way to keep him here. Whoa! A bird chirped. The pterosaurs, among the 6 children in the sky, flew to Shinluo's side with lightning speed, and the pitch-black armament hockey covered his legs and kicked Shinluo fiercely. Shinluo raised his arm to block, and the 6 sons of the sky should not be underestimated. His arm felt obvious pain. Could fight back. The saber-toothed tiger had already picked up the rocks on the ground, and with the powerful strength of the zone ancient species, blasted Shinluo in the air at a speed faster than a cannonball. Facing such a pincer attack, Shinluo's body had to retreat and distance himself from the pterosaur, but at this moment, the raptor in the form of a dinosaur leapt high, and in an instant, it crossed the height of several tens of meters, and opened its blood. Pandako bit towards Shinluo, who was in the air. Shinluo was about to make a move of Kai Featherflame Phoenix Vermilion Bird, when the Spinosaurus, which was thrown into the sky by the Tyrannosaurus rex, twisted and rotated at a high speed, and the spikes on his back slashed like a chainsaw under the high-speed rotation. To Shinluo. Shinluo had no doubt that if he was successfully hit by this move, he would probably be killed in 2 pieces on the spot. What a special 8-on-1, this battle can't be fought. Sun Punch. In an instant, a dazzling white light enveloped the small half of Onigashima. Not only were the pirates present suddenly blinded by Shinluoshin with their 24K titanium alloy dog eyes, but even Kaido and Yan Disaster in the distance noticed the movement here. That's great, he hasn't left yet. Kaido sighed, and the speed of the flight increased by another level. Even though Shinluo made a timely move, there were still 3 people who were not hit by the Sun Fist, namely Pejuan the Spinosaurus and the other 2 pterosaurs and velociraptors. Peggy Wan didn't dodge because he shrank into a ball. Pterosaurs and velociraptors are more prone to flexibility, and they are more prominent in observation hockey's accomplishments, closing their eyes in time. But even so, now only the flying pterosaurs can continue to pursue Shinluo. 2. Chapter 227 _ Ding. Bang. Stab it. Chin Luo collided with the pterosaur in the form of a human and beast in the air, sparks splashed, and sonic booms continued. His zone ability, the pterosaur actually adopted the move of exchanging injuries with Chin Luo. His sharp claws collided with Chin Luo's Aurora sword, sparks, and the all-like beak pierced Chin Luo's vital point. Pterodactyl thought very well. He thought that even if he was not the opponent of this marine, as long as he could buy a certain amount of time for other companions to react, it would be enough to win the final battle. It's a pity that he underestimated Chin Luo's explosive power. Boom! Chin Luo slammed into the abdomen of the pterosaur with one knee, and at the same time his head flashed, and the pointed mouth of the pterosaur that had pierced Chin Luo's face was about to stab in the air. The pterosaur changed his move in time, from stabbing to pecking, and like a big cock, he savagely pecked out a blood hole in Chin Luo's shoulder. But he could only do so much. The pterosaur, whose abdomen was hit hard by Chin Luo, could no longer keep up with Chin Luo's follow-up moves. The Aurora sword in Chin Luo's hand was divided into 6, but Chin Luo did not use the move that he used to deal with Gecko Moria. He saw his right hand holding a claw, and a miniature version of the Aurora tiger about the size of his fist appeared in his hand. The black tiger digs its heart. Kai Feather Flame Phoenix Vermilion Bird's teeth are sharper than steel knives, and the arc around it is even more destructive to flesh and blood. In addition, Chin Luo turned the pain in his left shoulder into an explosive force, and he pierced through it with a single claw. The chest of this pterosaur. Buzz! At the same time, the 6 Aurora swords that had already been suspended around the two seemed to have been recruited. Taking advantage of the moment when the pterosaur's weak defense dropped, they instantly stabbed the pterosaur at 6 different angles. The effect of Sun Fist finally ceased, and Chin Luo's figure had disappeared. At this time, only the 5 sons of Linkong were left. Onigashima at night. Why is this the result? Lord Queen and the 6 sons of Linkong not only failed to defeat the first Emperor Chin Luo, but he even killed one of them after the 8th fight. I'm not dreaming, right? Shut your stinky mouth, don't say a word if you don't want to die, no one can save you if you are heard by those adults. I'm sorry. Hurry up and help, there are still many companions here who need antidote. Yes. When Chin Luo used the Flaming Feather Flame Phoenix Flame to blow the poisonous mist of the Plague Queen to the base camp of the Beast Pirates, although countless pirates were shrouded in the poisonous fog, due to the Beast Pirates the regiment has already developed a corresponding antidote for the toxicity of the plague, so there are not as many pirates who have been poisoned to death on the surface. Poison attack is a double-edged sword. There are also many antidotes for Poison Man, Magellan in the deep-sea prison on Marine's side, in order to prevent the enemy from using these toxins to harm his own side. The Queen yelled, "You trash!" I just paused for a while, but Chin Luo killed one person in a blink of an eye. Trash, trash. What did you say? The Tyrannosaurus Rex in the 6 Sons of Linkong was also anxious. Didn't you almost get killed by the first Emperor Chin Luo? Queen retorted, no matter how I say it, I have fought against Chin Luo for hundreds of rounds. You rubbish can't even hold on for a few minutes. If the pillars of the Beast Pirates are compared to Marine Vice Admiral, then the 6 most powerful Vice Admirals are the 6 volleyballs. Obviously, the pterosaur's strength will definitely not reach the level of Admiral Candidate, otherwise even if Chin Luo can defeat him, it will not give people an intuitive feeling of instant kill. ... Ding! Trigger the task, solve Weibo, 1 of Shichibukai, the task reward, attribute point +1. Was about to leave Onigashima, remembered this. For killing Akainu last time was already in place. It was a random lottery chance to play a character, but Chin Luo did not use it at present. Then wait until this task is completed to start it. On the Sea of North Blue, a large pirate ship is slowly drifting, ripples on the sea. There were rivers of blood on the deck, and there were corpses everywhere, and the death was extremely miserable, with no arms or legs. It can be seen that these pirates have just experienced a bloody battle, and ended in a disastrous defeat. Boom! Crack! The man who called himself Wable grabbed the naginata that cut off the arm of Marine Chief Instructor Zephyr with one hand, and slammed the end into the deck. A bit of bitterness appeared on Wable's face, who looked silly. Mother, these pirates have too little treasure. When will we be able to save enough money to satisfy my father? Miss Bajan smiled and said, my dear son, don't worry, don't you see that our wealth has grown more and more? As long as a few years later, we will definitely be able to accumulate enough wealth to make your father look up to you. When you're going to buy a pirate ship bigger than your dad's Moby Dick, your dad will be proud of you. Wable's eyes lit up. Really, ma'am? Of course it's true. When did the old lady lie to you? That's great. Wable laughed, then frowned again. But these pirates are really poor. It's too slow to rob their treasures to save money. Let's go grab something called heavenly gold. It can be done at one time. Grab a bunch of treasure and make money faster. Quote. Miss Bajan exclaimed, oh my stupid son, we have already robbed the heavenly gold 3 times. We can't rob any more. If we rob any more, the bad guys in the world government will find us. Wable was fearless. Don't worry, ma'am, I'm not afraid of the world government. I'll beat them up if they dare to come. Miss Bajan has a headache. This fool Wable is really a muscle. That is the world government, the most powerful force in the world. How can the two of them afford it? But it is precisely because of this fool's stubbornness that he can easily fool him into serving himself. Otherwise, how could he find such a powerful and obedient thug? After thinking about it, Miss Bajan's old face smiled like a chrysanthemum. My dear son, the world government cannot be provoked. Why? You think, what your father likes most is a free and leisurely life on the sea. If you provoke the world government, wouldn't it mean that you will cause trouble for your father? A child who makes trouble everywhere like you. Your father will hate you. Daddy hates me, I don't. Wable was a little flustered. Mother, I listen to you everything, please don't make Dad hate me. My dear son, as long as you listen to my mother will definitely have a way to make your father like you. Wable isho stupidly, too. Good. Also, remember to never mention the words, gold in heaven, again. Mother, I remember. Chapter 228 Blue blue blue. The phone bug in Miss Barkin's pocket suddenly called. That was the contact information she left behind in the dark world called Golden Killer, which only a few people could get in touch with. Once the phone worm rang out, it meant business. Hey, we don't accept transactions under 100 million. Miss Bacon's tone was very strong. With Wable as a powerful thug, Miss Bacon can be said to be very arrogant in the dark world. The phone bug made Miss Bajan almost snort with a hiccup. I have $1 billion deal on my side, can you accept it? 10. Miss Bacon's breathing became rapid, and the expression on her face changed extremely distorted. Although his total wealth has already exceeded 10 billion, this one-time transaction of 1 billion still has a strong impact on her. Not to mention that the other party's opening is 1 billion, as long as he is tougher, it will rise to 1.5 billion. Both are possible. With a flick of his hand, the phone bug flew out. Miss Bacon rushed out and almost fell to the ground. Mother 26, be careful. Wable hugged Miss Barkin. Miss Barkin hugged the phone bug. After the shock, Miss Bacon's IQ came back online. 1 billion. I suddenly have some doubts now. You kid won't make fun of me, right? Don't tell me who you want to kill for $1 billion business. Can you afford so much money? Ah, so you think the price is too high? That's 500 million. Huh. It's the first time I heard of a killer who thinks the employer is charging too much. It's a strange request. Hey, that's not what I meant. Then what do you mean? Talking nonsense with Miss Bacon word by word. It sounds like it's saying something unnutritious, but it's actually stalling time. He is now using the electromagnetic waves between the two phone bugs to locate Miss Barkin. Once the phone bug hangs up, he can no longer pursue Miss Bacon. From the New World to the North Blue, there is only a little great passage and a windless belt. But this seemingly close distance on the map has come to reality. Even Chin Luo has to fly for a few hours. Where to meet? I haven't made up my mind yet. I'll contact you when I think about it. Crack. Unfortunately, Chin Luo still couldn't get along with Miss Bajan for a few hours, and Miss Bajan hung up the phone. Weibo wondered, Mother, didn't you say that you won't be picking up business recently? Assassinate Marine Chief Instructor, Black Arm, Zephyr is dangerous enough. The greedy Miss Bajan even ran away with the employer's deposit, which is equivalent to offending two forces at the same time. Otherwise, she wouldn't have to take Weibo to North Blue to avoid the limelight. That's a billion. Miss Bajan's small body couldn't help trembling. This is a woman who is more greedy for money than the little thief cat Nami. Nami developed the bad habit of being obsessed with money only because she was afraid of being poor when she was a child and later wanted to save money to save the village, but this Miss Bajan was completely corrupted by money and fell into the eyes of money. Miss Bacon was caught in a dilemma. No, I have to think about it. After half a day, Chin Luo, who lost the electromagnetic wave positioning, finally came to North Blue along the original straight trajectory. He couldn't find Miss Bacon, but with observation hockey's visual observation ability, he found a large pirate group that was slaughtered within sight. It hasn't been too long since the bloodstains dried up. They shouldn't have gone far. Miss Bajan again. Which one are you? The billion one. Didn't I already say I'll contact you when I think about it? I haven't made up my mind yet. Crack. After 2 sentences, Miss Bacon hung up the phone. At this time, she and Weibo were enjoying North Blue's specialties on a bustling island in North Blue. Although Miss Bajan's attitude was very uncomfortable, Chin Luo was not angry at all. In that direction. A smile appeared on Chin Luo's face, but there was a hint of ferocity in this smile, like a wild wolf that had been ambushed for a long time and was about to start a hunt. North Blue, a gourmet restaurant on Aryafa Island. You eat less. These things are expensive. Mother, it's not enough to eat. You're not going to catch fish if you don't have enough food. But I can't swim. What a stupid son. You can use the harpoon to stick the big fish first, and then use your devil fruit ability to control the harpoon to pull the fish back. Yes. Weibo suddenly realized. Then I'll go catch fish and eat it, so I don't have to waste my mother's money. What a good son. Go, remember to bring your headset. Okay. The coast of Yayafa Island. The people on the shore finally realized what the king of fishing explosion is today. My God, did you all see it? That big guy is really too powerful to be like this. Xiaohui's fishes that he hunted are almost piled up into a hill. Hunt a few more, so the old lady can save a lot of money. That. Do what? Feeling someone poking him in the back, Weibo glanced back. A little girl was so frightened that she sat on the ground. What are you doing? I. Weibo was dying. You say it. I see that you are so good at fishing. Can you give me one? I'm awesome. Weibo was startled, and he pointed at himself with his thumb. Am I really that good? The little girl nodded vigorously. Big brother, you are really good at fishing. Weibo laughed foolishly. He was very happy. He picked out the biggest fish and handed it to the little girl. Give it to you. It's so big, I can't handle it. Weibo mused. You can't take it. The little girl picked a smaller one by herself. I want this one, thank you big brother. You, welcome. Weibo watched the little girl run away with the fish, and quickly grabbed the fish happily. Chapter 229 Yayafa Island. It's so irritating, where the hell did that brainy Weibo go? Weibo's old lady, Miss Barkin, was walking cautiously down the town's streets. I really made a low-level mistake. That fool made me so much money, and he couldn't eat as much as he could. Why didn't I want to spend money and let him go catch fish and eat it by himself? No, if only I went fishing with him at that time, it would save a fortune and not lose Wable. Maybe the fish caught by that kid could be sold for more money. Alas, I really thoughtless. Now that kid doesn't know where he has gone. If he can't find him, it will not be so easy to make money in the future. Ouch. Miss Bacon was suddenly hit by someone, and her center of gravity was unstable and fell to the ground. Miss Bacon roared, "Who is it? Don't you know how to respect the old man?" I'm sorry. Hearing the repeated apology, Miss Bacon looked in the direction of the voice, and found that a little girl was constantly bowing and apologizing to herself, and a fish fell on the ground beside her. Little devil. I'm sorry. Miss Barkin's eyes rolled behind her sunglasses. Little devil, my old man is already so old, you bruised me, you know. Hearing Miss Bacon's words, the little girl panicked even more. Then. What to do then? Of course I have to accompany the medical expenses. Lose money. But I have no money. My family is very poor. No money. Please wait a moment. The little girl suddenly thought of something. She picked up the fish that fell on the ground, and said weakly to Miss Bacon, I only have this now. Do you think I can accompany you as a medical bill? A rotten fish. Miss Bacon looked at the little girl and felt that the other's family really didn't look rich, so she waved her hand. Forget it, since you don't have any money, you don't have to lose money. The little girl's eyes were watery. Really? But if you bump into someone, you have to pay a corresponding price. Yeah. With a scream, the little girl was kicked out by Miss Bacon, like a wild dog blocking the road without mercy. Why are you like this? Even though the little girl bumped into you, you don't need to be so cruel, right? Some disgusted passers-by began to condemn Miss Bacon's behavior. Miss Bacon said indifferently, Do you want to die? She's not a powerless old lady. She was a pirate and spent time on the same pirate ship as Whitebeard Edward Newgate. The murderous aura on the pirates easily deterred these ordinary citizens. Go away. Miss Bacon let out a low drink, and a group of tall adults was scared away by a little old lady. But just as Miss Bacon turned around an alley, she was blocked on her way. Ms. Barkin. Miss Bacon's pupils shrank. Who are you? We just finished talking, the billion one. A drop of cold sweat dripped from Miss Bacon's ear. You. How did you find it? Chin Luo's voice was as calm as a pool of stagnant water, without a trace of emotion. Why doesn't the gold medal killer dare to take my order? Ms. Bacon, you are really disappointing. Miss Bacon scolded inwardly. She already knew the other party at this moment. It was not simply to take the order, but for another purpose. The key was that Wable was not there, delaying the time. Since you came to find me, what purpose do you have? You want money. I can give it to you. No, I'm here to kill you. Chin Luo said lightly. Feeling the murderous aura of the other party, the sweat on Miss Ba's forehead was dense. The other party doesn't even want the money, which is a very bad phenomenon. It was as if he no longer needed the little girl to pay for her medical bills, which showed that the other party had other plans. How about 500 million? Billion. I'll pay $1 billion. Chin Luo was unmoved. 2 billion. Bang, bang. Quote. 2 bullets suddenly hit Chin Luo in front of Miss Bacon. One hit Chin Luo's throat and the other hit Chin Luo's heart. In the hands of Miss Bacon, the muzzles of the two pistols were exuding a faint smoke of gunpowder. No one could have imagined that this old woman could hide such a skill. Humph. Don't think that the old lady can only rely on the big man. The old lady was also. From nervous to proud, from proud to shocked, the expression on Miss Bacon's face changed so fast that it was even more exaggerated than the Sichuan opera. The bullet directly penetrated Chin Luo's neck and chest, and several balls of marshmallow-like white matter were carried out by the bullet's powerful kinetic energy. Chin Luo's 2 wounds were slowly healing like a whirlpool. Miss Bacon's pupils shrank. Diaresis from Logia. Those balls of white matter brought out by the bullets suddenly swelled and stuck on Miss Bacon's face. At this moment, Miss Bacon looked like a gluttonous child who plunged into the pile of marshmallows. Miss Bacon's frantically struggling movements showed that she was not happy at all, but rather painful. Because the white mass that completely wrapped her head completely isolated the air, Miss Bacon was experiencing painful suffocation. No matter how much Miss Bacon shook her head, she couldn't get rid of the mass, and it stuck to her head like a paste. PFF'd. PFF'd. Miss Bacon wanted to push away the mass that was wrapping her head with both hands, but her hands could easily penetrate this white substance, and she couldn't exert any strength on it. Puff. Miss Bacon, who was suffocated by hypoxia, finally fell to the ground. Wrapped Miss Bacon disappeared and completely melted into the air, as if it had never existed. Miss Bacon stared at her with a grim expression on her face. It is conceivable how terribly painful she endured before she died. ... Mother. Where are you, madam? Hey, this person is so strange. It's like an idiot looking for an old lady for such an old man. Chish, don't talk nonsense, didn't you see his size? We'll be miserable if he hears it. Mother. Wabel, who had just dropped the fish, looked happy and looked for the system. Wabel, who had returned to Aryafa Island, was looking anxiously for his mother like a child lost with his parents. NTC Miss Bacon, his heart was numb, and the sweat on his forehead was dense. Chapter 230 _ Why are there so many people over there? Suddenly seeing an alley crowded with people, Wabel, who was dragging his severely injured body, hurried over. Get out of the way. What? Being pulled away by Wabel, someone still wanted to get angry. But when he looked back and saw Wabel's explosive muscles, tall figure and tragic appearance as if he had just climbed out of hell, he immediately shrank like an eggplant hit by frost. Mother. Stepping forward and recklessly rammed the town sheriff, Wabel, knelt down beside Miss Bacon. Mother, why are you here? Mother, wake up. Mother, speak up. The sheriff who was knocked down came over. So you are the family of the deceased. He was not angry. After all, the child had just died of his mother, so it was okay to react violently. What did you say? Wabel suddenly looked up at the sheriff, so frightened that the sheriff couldn't help swallowing. What did I say? You say my old lady is dead. She is indeed dead, you have to calm down. 700 inches. You fart. How could my mother die? Tears poured out of Wabel's eyes like spring water, and Wabel, who was stimulated, roared frantically, my mother will never die. The air waves rolled in all directions, and people covered their ears in pain. With a sound of, wow. Even the glass of the town was shattered to pieces because it couldn't bear Wabel's roar. Mother. After a long time, Wabel calmed down and his voice became quieter. The sheriff thought that the big man finally accepted the reality, so he dared to comfort him, the dead can't be resurrected. Please. The sheriff was taken aback. Because Wabel suddenly looked at him, that kind of look, like a beast. How did my wife die? I don't know. Who killed my old lady? I really don't know. Stab. The sheriff didn't even finish a word, his body was instantly grabbed by Wabel and torn in half on the spot. Murdered. Run. Since you don't know who killed my mother, then I want you to be buried with my mother. Wabel trembled all over, his eyes were red, and his devil fruit ability was activated. Aryafa's island was torn apart. Ellipsis. At this time, Yayafa Island has completely changed its appearance. If there's one place that's most like hell, it's probably here. Looking around, there are broken walls and ruins, and fires have been ignited everywhere. On the streets, on the roofs, in the rubble, there were rivers of blood and corpses everywhere. Even the white towns that died of Platinum League disease many years ago are not as tragic as here. After death, a whole corpse can still be left. The corpse here is hard to leave a whole corpse. Child. Go away, leave me alone. No, I'm going to save my mother out. A woman was crushed under the rubble, and a little girl was struggling stubbornly. The blood had already dyed the girl's little hands red. Her efforts were just in vain, but she still did not give up. At this moment, a tall figure appeared behind the girl. Who the hell killed my old lady? The woman didn't answer because she didn't know. I killed you. Wabel, who had gone berserk, slashed at the woman with a giant axe in his hand. His naginata had already sunk to the bottom of the sea when he and Chin Luo died together. Don't hurt my mother. The little girl bravely stopped in front of Wabel. The axe in Wabel's hand stopped, because he was familiar with the little girl. Is that you? Girl pouted and glared at Wabel. Don't hurt my mother. Go baby, leave me alone. CGAC. Wabel was in a trance. This is your mother. Your old lady. You're not a good person at all, you're a bad person. I'm the bad guy. You're the bad guy, you're the big bad guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm my mother's good son. My mother said that my father is proud of me. The giant axe split the air and smashed into the little girl and the woman pinned by the ruins. But just before he was about to kill two axe, Wabel's movements stagnated, because an invisible force pulled his giant axe. Wabel was surprised. Who? Wabel finally showed up. Wabel turned. I saw Chin Luo bathed in thunder, like a god of killing. Boom. The sky gradually darkened. It's not that night has come, but that a large number of dark clouds have gradually accumulated over Aryafa Island, and the sun shrouding the world has gradually been obscured by thick clouds. Crack. Thunder flashed, and a towering tree was slashed in the middle by lightning, setting off a raging fire. It rained heavily. The endless fire in the town finally gradually subsided. The rain fell on the ground, mixed with the blood, and the red ocean flowed on the earth. Someone saved us. The little girl covered the rain with her hands and opened her eyes wide to look in Chin Luo's direction, but in this thunderstorm with extremely low visibility, no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't see Chin Luo's face clearly. Mom. Suddenly hearing her mother's moaning, the little girl ignored the two adults and resumed her futile efforts. The rain fell on Chin Luo and Wabel, converging into a stream of water and continuing to fall. The lightning flashes from time to time illuminate the sky and the earth, and the figures of the two flicker, each of which is far away. It was raining even though the weather was fine. Chin Luo didn't know if it was a coincidence caused by the changeable weather in North Blue, or in this world with souls, God was indeed crying with anger for this situation on Yayafa Island. Only Wabel remained in his eyes, the criminal with countless blood on his hands. I'm not the bad guy, you're the one to die. Wabel roared and rushed towards Chin Luo. The sound of the humming sword sounded, and countless aurora swords slashed towards Wabel's position. 100-step flying sword. Wabel slashed and slashed to the left, knocking off a long energy sword, and he and Chin Luo were getting closer and closer. What kind of rubbish move is this? Is the accuracy so bad? It's not as good as those falling thunder. Chin Luo didn't answer Wabel, he stepped back with force under his feet, and opened the distance from Wabel. The energy-long swords that passed through Wabel went straight to the little girl's mother, the sword light shone, and the broken walls were chopped to powder in a moment. Wabel has no idea about this, he has only one goal now, kill Chin Luo. Chapter 231 Got saved, Mom, you're finally out. The woman held the little girl tightly in her arms, tears blurring her eyes. My child. Brother, you have to work hard, you can't lose to that big bad guy. To cheer for Chin Luo, but the two people who had already left couldn't hear her voice at all. Chop the mountain. Wabel swung down the giant axe fiercely, and the rapid slashing trajectory brought the flow of air, and even the rain could not get close to the axe blade. Ding! Lei Che was formed in Chin Luo's hands. He held the hilt of the sword with one hand and the blade with the other, and faced the giant axe in Wabel's hand. Chin-luo resisted Weible's fierce top-down blow, but his feet also sank into the ground. Boom! A terrifying shock wave rushed in all directions, like a meteor falling on the ground, and the houses and trees along the way collapsed one after another, and no one survived. Crack! Weible's giant axe suddenly shattered at the blade. Even though he had covered the giant axe with armament haki, the quality of the axe he picked up was far inferior to that of his naginata. Armament haki, who was considered Weible without being directly chopped in front of him, was strong enough. I'll chop again. With a roar, Weible exerted strength in his arms, his muscles bulged, and the giant axe was lifted up by him. Weible waved the naginata in his hand, and several beams of light slammed towards Chin-luo, almost covering Chin-luo's position. Feeling the approaching sword light behind him, a golden yellow lightning sword wrapped around an electric arc appeared in Chin-luo's hands. The moment Chin-luo turned around, the dazzling sword energy shot out, directly dispersing the several sword lights that Weible cut out. You're amazing. Seeing Chin-luo finally turned around and stopped, Weible also stopped flying. He floated in midair, the sun shone on his body, and his long hair was golden. Weible's appearance reminded Chin-luo of Golden Lion Shiki. It's just that the breath emanating from Weible is much stronger than that of Golden Lion. Golden Lion is old and sickly, and has many injuries. And this Weible gave Chin-luo the feeling of a sturdy beast, even more mighty than Charlotte Katakori and Yan Calamity Jin. You must not leave alive today. Weible's voice was naive and sounded harmless. But Weible, who was in a state of battle, gave Chin-luo only 2 words: dangerous. Cut down the tree. Weible let out a loud shout, his figure flickered and approached Chin-luo, and the naginata in his hand swept towards Chin-luo's waist and abdomen with the whistling sound of the wind. Zephyr said that almost none of his students who died were whole, either chopped or cut in half by Weible. Chopping down a big tree is obviously a cute-sounding move, but the enemy is killed by Weible's knife. Ding! Rachel stopped the pitch-black naginata, and a thunderous sound erupted in the sky. How is it possible? Weible was startled. He had never seen anyone who could block his naginata. The aurora shone, and Chin-luo, who was surrounded by thunder, seemed to come to the world to judge the injustice of Thor. Did you always bully the weak before? You are talking nonsense. I am very good. Weible was furious. He roared, the muscles in his arms bulged, and a surging force of Pengbai pressed down on Chin-luo. The lightning sword Rachel and Weible's naginata covered armament haki with dazzling sparks. Laki's cutting ability is extremely strong, but Weible's naginata did not even generate a single scar. This shows how much energy Weible has in his body and how terrifying Weible's armament haki is. With Weible's outburst, his power suddenly increased a notch. A moment, the power that Weible burst out made Chin-luo think of a person, Kaido of the Beasts. However, if you feel it carefully, it's a bit less meaningful. Cut. Weible chased after the victory, and he held the dark naginata high above his head. Chop the mountain. This move is not simply an exaggerated name. Weible once really used this naginata to split a mountain. He has this strength. In this world, it is no longer a dream for the real strong to overturn rivers and seas with personal power. The speed of the naginata in Weible's hand has broken through the sound barrier, and white clouds of air that can be discerned to the naked eye are constantly flying towards both sides of the blade. From a distance, it seems that even the space has been torn apart by Weible. Chin-luo's whole body was surging with electricity and light, and a large amount of electromagnetic force gathered in his hands. Weible was getting closer and closer to Chin-luo. Chin-luo suddenly pushed his hands forward. Thunder and lightning. The medium is not the coin, but the naginata in Weible's hand. The surging electromagnetic force suddenly acted on Weible's blade. Weible's speed was already very fast. When the two forces collided, Weible, who was hit by such a powerful impact, could not help but groan in pain. My knife. Weible held the handle of the naginata tightly with both hands, with the naginata in front and Weible at the back. Weible and the naginata, hit by the electromagnetic force, formed a straight line and flew into the distance. This guy is really powerful. Chin Luo Vivi was stunned. His sudden impact just now failed to knock off the naginata in Weibel's hand. You are too much. As soon as Weibel opened his mouth, several orange laser rays hit him, and even the thunderous explosions fell behind the rays. 0-0. This is the real, lightning and thundering. Weibel's pupils shrank suddenly and shouted, "Stop for me." Chin Luo's, lightning and thundering, was like a bullet shot into the quagmire, and the speed dropped sharply. Although the laser light finally succeeded in hitting Weibel's body, the remaining energy of the coin did not make a splash on Weibel's armament hockey. Before Weibel could catch his breath, Chin Luo had already raised his sword to kill him. I will too. Weibel imitated Chin Luo's appearance and activated his fruit ability to push forward sharply. But in Weibel's surprised eyes, Rachel had already cut down on him. Why doesn't it work? Weibel's eyes widened, and he flickered suddenly to avoid Chin Luo's fatal blow. But his cloak-like blonde hair moved a second slower, and the blonde hair below the waist was cut off by Chin Luo's sword. The floating blonde hair was scorched by the high-energy particles of the Aurora sword, and a disgusting smell of burnt protein permeated the air. My hair. Weibel not only failed to imitate Chin Luo's moves, but also paid half the price of his long hair. This is one of the advantages that his mother often praises. Miss Barkin often tells Weibel that his long golden hair is as mighty as a lion hockey. Why did you cut my hair? I'm going to kill you. Weibel was furious and turned into a meteor and went straight to Chin Luo to kill. Chin Luo said indifferently, "You just need to remember that you will die today. You are going to die. 2. Chapter 232 In the sky above a certain sea area in North Blue, thunder rolled, and the clanging sound of metal collision continued one after another. The two sides in the sky were inextricably fighting, the sword light was dazzling, the sword chi flew horizontally, and the lightning flashed and thundered, as if the end of the world. In Chin Luo's hand, the electric arc wrapped around Lei Che, became more and more dazzling, and Lei Che himself had become red, constantly emitting blazing high-temperature radiation, and the cold air was instantly roasted into a heat wave, even the light changed. Got to twist up. Chin Luo's pupils flashed thunder from time to time, and he had already activated the Wrath of Thor state. Ding, ding, ding. The naginata in Weibel's hand constantly collided with Chin Luo's lightning sword, creating dazzling sparks and dazzling particles. If Weibel's armament hockey wasn't strong enough to withstand Chin Luo's lightning and heat, I'm afraid his naginata would have been roasted red like iron, and his body would have already danced under the stimulation of lightning. Look at my Sea Dragon King. Weibel's fruit ability was activated, and the sea below was turbulent as if it had been ordered, and a stream of water rose up from the ground, like a dragon soaring into the sky, with an overwhelming momentum, opened its bloody mouth and bit Chin Luo fiercely. Chin Luo glanced left and right, and suddenly disappeared in place. Below, Weibel and several sea dragons were in hot pursuit. Chin Luo flew to the cloud first, the aurora shrouded the sky, and lightning flashed in the clouds. Boom! The real thunder sounded, as if there were thousands of horses galloping above the clouds. Crack! A flash of lightning flashed in the sky, and the thunder of the bucket-thick thickness instantly hit Weibel below, and even the air was pierced by lightning at this moment. Crash! A flood dragon composed of seawater suddenly accelerated, and in a blink of an eye, it surpassed Weibel and stopped in front of him. Boom! The lightning and the dragon collided, making a deafening sound, and endless water splashes fell to the sea like rain, but every drop of rain would suddenly change direction and automatically bypass when it was about to fall on Weibel. Crack! 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 The thunder roared, as if the god of thunder ruled the world. Boom! 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 The dragons were smashed to pieces by the thunder and lightning, and Weibel broke through the thundercloud and came to the cloud, as if he was about to cross the sky. Devil fruit people do have a huge advantage in battle. If it weren't for the protection of those seawater dragons, Weibo would not have been able to break through Qin Luo's thunder net without injury. Even if Hawkeye and Garp wanted to step on the moon step to break through the thunder net and come to meet Qin Luo in the cloud, they would definitely leave scars on their bodies. Weibo's naive voice sounded in front of Qin Luo. I've already flown higher than Lei Yin now, I see what else you can do to hack me. Then do you know what else is above the cloud? What more can there be? Weibo looked puzzled and looked at Qin Luo with curious eyes. A smile appeared on Qin Luo's lips. Above the clouds. Of course the sun. The sun. Ah! Weibo let out a shrill scream. A dazzling flash of light suddenly erupted from Qin Luo's body. Weibo, who was caught off guard, was hit by the scorching sun, and his eyes were instantly blinded, and there was an endless buzzing in his mind. PFF'd. The crimson lightning sword wrapped around the electric arc pierced into Weibo's muscles, and the shining thunder and lightning climbed up Weibo's body, and a stiff numbness instantly spread throughout Weibo's body. Qin Luo held the thunder light sword in both hands and exerted force. Like a knife stabbing a watermelon and cutting, the sharp laki began to slowly cut Weibo's body. The high temperature of the Scarlet Aurora sword instantly evaporated the blood flowing out of Weibo's wound, and even his muscles were scorched. For the enemy that is cut, the cells at the wound will be instantly killed by high temperature, the injury will be more serious, the recovery will be extremely difficult, and the pain will be more severe. But it was this unbearable pain that stimulated Weibo's brain, causing him to wake up suddenly from the fiery stimulation. A pair of powerful hands held Qin Luo's arms firmly like a vice, and Weibo slammed his head into Qin Luo's nose. Boom! How could Qin Luo give him a chance? The pitch-black armament hockey covered his fist and hit Weibo's face. Blood gushed out in a blink of an eye, staining half of Weibo's body red. The piercing pain stimulated Weibo's brain. Weibo clenched his teeth tightly, trying to cut Qin Luo first. However, the thunder on Qin Luo's body shone, and a large amount of thunder and lightning rushed to Weibo's body, making Weibo unable to use his power at all. From a distance, it looks like a shooting star. Boom! The meteor that was shining with electric light and burning flame finally fell into the sea, and the heavy rain was hit by a high water column due to the violent energy. The energy was so great that it formed a storm and rolled in all directions. Thor's gun. With a wave of Qin Luo's left hand, Thor's spear pierced through the rain and air, heading straight for Weibo. I will too. Following Qin Luo's example, Weibo's ability to activate fruit, countless swords, spears, halberds, hoes and forks flew towards Qin Luo in the sky. Following behind Thor's gun, Qin Luo turned into a meteor and flew in the direction of Weibo. All weapons that stab Qin Luo along the way will take a detour when they are about to hit Qin Luo, which surprised Weibo. Why the hell is this? Weibo waved his pitch-black fist and blasted away the spears of Thor. Ding! Rachel, shining with electric light, slashed on Weibo's arms. Only then did Qin Luo answer Weibo's question, because you are an idiot. What did you say? ZZ. Countless thunders suddenly flashed across Weibo's body. Those thunder god's guns that had been smashed by him before had a lot of thunder and lightning power left on Weibo's body. At this time, he received Qin Luo's order, and the thunder broke out in an instant, and Weibo's body was already a faint paralysis occurred. And Weibo's damaged stomach and kidneys could no longer withstand the stimulation of the thunder. Wow! Another mouthful of black blood spit out, and Weibo's facial features twisted together in pain. The sword light flashed, and two sturdy arms flew high. PFF'd. The blue Rachel stabbed into Weibo's chest and out of Weibo's back. The arc flashed, Rachel began to turn red, and the demon snake was already possessed. I'm not a badass. Weibo grinned, his teeth red with blood, and growled loudly. You'd better explain this to God, and I'm only responsible for sending you to see God. Qin Luo didn't know Weibo's past at all. Even if he knew Weibo, he could only say one thing to Weibo: I hope you can meet a good family in your next life. Qin Luo grabbed the hilt of the sword with both arms and slammed it upwards fiercely. The blade of the sword slashed across his chest, and even Weibel's lower jaw and upper lip were all cut open together. Weibel was gutted by Qin Luo. Crack! A flash of lightning pierced the sky, and electric light illuminated the earth. The rain and blood were instantly evaporated by the high-temperature demon snake, and the steam lingered, and more rain mixed with blood slowly flowed under the two of them. The picture is frozen at this moment, and it looks like the cruelest Asura hell. Chapter 233 _ Ding! The task is completed, get the strength attribute point +1. Weibel, who had lost his vitality, knelt down in front of Qin Luo. The rain washed Qin Luo's cheeks. Qin Luo was expressionless, he only felt a strange force pouring out of his body, clenched his fists, his strength was permanently increased again, and he felt very happy. The cold wind is like a knife, the earth is the cutting board, and all living beings are regarded as fish. The torrential rain poured down, rushing down, washing away the scarlet blood, washing away the resentment of the dead. The woman who escaped death hugged her daughter and knelt down not far from Qin Luo. "Sir, thank you for saving us." Qin Luo nodded slightly, turned into a lightning bolt, and disappeared in place. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. System, let's extract it. Ding! The characters of the heavens are being drawn. As the system's words fell, a 3D screen appeared in Qin Luo's mind, and countless figures flew past. Some were evil, some were saved by the Virgin, and some were free. Finally, a man wearing a black tight-fitting combat uniform with red layered armor on the outside appeared on the 3D screen. He had 26 black hair like a waterfall. The most noticeable thing was the pair of dark purple pupils, which bewitched the mind and made the people can't look directly. This is a pair of Rinnegan, also known as the eye that controls life and death, the most sublime pupil power, which originated from the ultimate pupil technique of the chakra fruit of the divine tree. The owner of Rinnegan controls yin and yang, has at least 6 changes in the nature of chakra, and has extraordinary abilities, either the god of creation with the ability to create the world, or the god of destruction with the ability to destroy the world. Could it be Madara Uchiha? Qin Luo exclaimed. Madara Uchiha, the former leader of the Uchiha clan, is not only the chakra reincarnation of Indra, the eldest son of the former six-path immortal, but also the strongest Uchiha ever. He is good at using the complete body Susanoo, that can rival the tailed beast, and he is called the legendary ninja, together with Senju Hasuma. Together with Chin Shozuma, he established the first ninja village in the history of the ninja world and named it Konoha. Under the guidance of Kurohue, he fought with Senju in the Valley of the End, and unfortunately was defeated by Senju. It is generally considered dead by the world. In fact, he survived with a Zanagi implanted in his right eye, and then he transplanted the body of Shima. In his later years, he opened Rinnegan, created a heretical golem, and the last time after the opening of the Infinite Moon reading, Baiju transplanted Rinnegan into Nagato. During the Third Ninja World War, he rescued Uchiha Obito in the Battle of Kamabashi Bridge and planned to use him to carry out the Moon Eye project. He later died of physical failure. In the Fourth Ninja World War, because Heiju deliberately let Yaoshido find his corpse, he was once resurrected by Yaoshido in the form of Dirty Soil reincarnation, and then used Obito to perform the Outsider and reincarnation. Later, he became a Jew Tales person, but after launching the Infinite Moon reading, he was attacked by Kurohue, who used Madara's body to revive Kagaya Otsutsuki. After Kagaya was sealed, he was in a dying state because the tailed beast was pulled out of his body. He was on the verge of death and completely died after opening his heart with Hashirama. Obtain the possessed character Uchiha Madara. The progress bar reaches 85%, the higher the progress bar, the stronger the volatilized strength. Qin Luo was overjoyed. Ninjutsu, illusion, fighting technique, Uchiha Madara are all top-notch existences. From a distance, the planetary devastation can be described as eye-catching, no doubt about it. As the most famous sea restaurant in East Blue, the stock of ingredients on Bharati is generally consumed very quickly, and it will look for islands to dock and replenish every once in a while. Bharati has an eggplant-like connection type teppanyaki ship full of magic. A man in his 50s, with a slightly plump figure and a chef's suit, he is Zeph and Bharati's head chef. Zeph, who is in charge of the cook and the cleaner, gets a startling news that the first Emperor Qinluo will come to his restaurant for a meal. Zeph didn't believe it at the time, and Zeph didn't really believe it until a letter arrived. After knowing the first news, Zeph's cigarette rod fell to the ground, and he didn't react much. At 11 o'clock in the morning, it stands to reason that the sea restaurant Bharati, which should be full of guests at this moment, is extremely deserted. The thin sampans on both sides were glowing with water, and there was not even a trace of dirt in the corners. The neatly dressed cooks stood in a row at the door, sweat dripping from their foreheads. "Everyone, cheer up the old man," Zeph growled. "Who is the first Emperor Qinluo? That is a monster whose name can stop children from crying at night." The appearance of these few days alone made the whole East Blue roar, and even their business was reduced by more than 30%. "You are not a pirate, you cannot understand the deterrent power of the name, First Emperor, in the sea. The first Emperor Qinluo, the top figure who killed the big mom of the 4 emperors, and one of the most critical figures in the war, Whitebeard's current deterrent power is not necessarily higher than Qinluo. Right now." Boom! A thunderclap caused a group of people on the boat to raise their heads neatly and look at the sky in panic. The blue sky that had been emptied for thousands of miles just now was covered with dark clouds, and there seemed to be thousands of indescribable giant pythons rolling among the clouds, stirring the dark clouds like boiling soup. Hey, could it be? Zeph stopped all movement in a stunned manner and looked up in disbelief. It was also made by the first emperor. 700 inches, that's inaccurate. Suddenly, a voice he had never heard before appeared behind him. To be precise, this is the chain reaction of the power that spreads out when I use my abilities to erode the sky, and I didn't make it deliberately. It's just like the breeze that ordinary people bring when they walk, but what I bring as the weather changes. Zeph's eyes widened in an instant. He didn't even feel when another person appeared behind him. This incredible moving speed, is it a human or a ghost? Swish. Turning around in shock, Zeph looked up for the first time. So high. Although Qinluo's height is scum in the One Piece King of Pirates world, his height of 2.23 meters is enough to look down on most ordinary people. Tall, but not burly. If it wasn't for knowing that the man in front of him couldn't impersonate the famous first emperor, it would be difficult for Zeph to associate the ordinary man in front of him with him. Only those eyes, with a star-like light shining inside, like a vortex, make people unable to break free at a glance. When the spirit of the strong person condenses to a certain level, the only window that is exposed to the outside world is the eyes. So there are rumors in the sea that anyone can kill with just one look. That is actually a kind of imposing attack similar to conqueror hockey formed by the incomparably condensed spirit, commonly known as scared. Chapter 234 Beginning. First Emperor Qinluo, I'm under Zeph. At this moment, Zeph came over and bowed to Qinluo Vivi. After a long trip to East Blue, let me try the famous dishes of the long-established sea restaurant Bharati. Qinluo looked at Zeph and said with a smile, let's talk about it first. I'm used to eating dishes made by the world's top chefs in Century City and Going City. It's not that difficult to satisfy me. Century City, Going City. Great airline, and even the 2 most famous luxury entertainment cities in the world, can be a master chef in it, and the chef's cooking skills can be imagined. Not to mention the simplest, top-quality ingredients. Don't worry, if we can't satisfy our guests, we're not qualified to be this chef. Zeph rolled up his sleeves and smiled confidently. Qinluo Vivi squinted at him, and under Zeph's nervous gaze, he said slowly after a while, I hope so. Zeph is undoubtedly a qualified cook. But to say that it is world-class, it is far from enough. However, the chef's commitment and sincerity to diners cannot be imitated by skilled chefs alone. Zeph breathed a sigh of relief, as long as he didn't anger the man in front of him. Marine First Emperor, that sense of oppression is too terrifying for an old pirate like him who has retreated from the Great Route. Because of the need to receive a guest alone, all the extra tables and chairs in the restaurant were taken back into the storage room, and only a long wooden table was left near the window. The round glass windows are pushed outwards, allowing diners to enjoy the view of the sea, listening to the waves lapping, smelling the salty seawater, and eating with the faint sea breeze. The kitchen, Zeph was in charge of cooking. Except for a few people to help out, among the cooks left outside, they acted as waiters. Waiting for food to be served is boring, especially now that there isn't even a guy qualified to sit with him. Chin Luo, while looking forward to what food Zeph would serve for himself, held a wine glass and picked up the news of the world not far away. Shock. Marine Shi Huang went out frequently, and the reason was because of him. Close double angle bracket. Chin Luo. Zeph, there must be a portion of poultry in the dish, no matter what it is. Yes, I see. The kitchen, Zeph, who had just packed up the scallops, agreed and rubbed his chin. Trouble. Poultry has such a strong taste, how should it be added to the seafood menu? Beyond the article published by Morgans, Chin Luo continued to scroll down. The Revolutionary Army's great action may have to cause close double angle bracket. Oh, interesting, diaresis. After running back and forth in the sea for several months, Chin Luo's information on the sea was a bit outdated, and he didn't need to read about the trivial matters. Immediately open the newspaper and scan it carefully. Today, the king of the Lagal kingdom at the southern end of the Red Earth continent went to the Holy Land, Mariajoy, to ask for help. It is understood that in the area where Lagar state is located, there are a total of 7 countries around which have declared their independence. It is unprecedented for such a large number of countries to speak out at the same time, which has caused widespread concern from all walks of life. Follow. Quote. A government spokesman said that the act of a country that declared independence was unpopular, and it has dispatched its entire army to send troops to attack. I hope that all countries will recognize the needs of the people and take the initiative to hand over the remnants of the Revolutionary Army who are deceiving the public. The government will let go of the past. It's not that the entire Red Earth continent has fallen, just the movement in a corner of the Red Earth continent. Such a title party. Morgan's skin is itchy. Chin Luo sneered, then frowned. The government put it nicely, remnant party of the Revolutionary Army, but have you ever seen a remnant party group larger than the whole body? Dragon made a good move. After the war on the top, the situation changed, making Dragon realize that his existence was not safe for the Revolutionary Army. The Revolutionary Army cannot afford to lose and cannot gamble. So he simply broke it into pieces, took advantage of Marine's opportunity to attack Baldage, and died generously with extraordinary courage, hiding the true heritage of the Revolutionary Army and avoiding Marine or the First Emperor's eyes. The Revolutionary Army is different from the 4 emperors of the pirates. The most important thing for them is by no means a leader, but a belief. It's been a long wait. Here are the appetizers and the seafood and vegetable bisque. At this moment, Zeph, who was surrounded by a clean white waste, pushed the dining car out, opened the silver thermal insulation cover, and a rich but not greasy aroma exploded in the air, and the lean and clear water droplets were like white water. No impurities, but the fragrance makes the index finger move. Noticing Chin Luo's action of sniffing the scent, Zeph is proud of Isho. Of course, I prefer to call it the century soup. Chin Luo. God, what a world soup. Hey, on the stage. Shaking the steel spoon sent the crystal clear thick soup into the mouth, and immediately, the strong fresh, fragrant and mellow exploded on the tip of the tongue. It looks like it's just a bowl of white water. The world's thick soup has dozens of different flavors. These flavors are perfectly matched together, without a trace of excess and confusion, giving people a very wonderful taste experience. Chin Luo, who holds the return of life, can frankly admit that this bowl of soup has reached the limit of its existence. The remaining question is, it's just that the ingredients are a bit low level. If you can add the fish bones of the four-finned swordfish, which is a specialty of the great airline, to make the soup base, I believe the taste will be even better. Chin Luo commented, and then smiled with satisfaction, but you can cook so delicious with ordinary ingredients, Zeph. Right. I'm looking forward to the next main course. Bone of a four-finned sailfish. Zeph didn't seem to hear the last half of the sentence, chewed it slowly, raised his head after a while, and asked, First Emperor, have you heard of the Sea of Legends, all blue? Chin Luo waved his hand to stop him and said, the dream of all chefs, the wonderful sea area with all the ingredients of the four major sea areas, all blue. Of course I've heard of it. And more than once. From your mouth. Zeph's eyes lit up and he asked excitedly, then do you know where it is? How do you say it? Chin Luo supported his chin with a spoon and said with a smile, the academic world is currently debating whether all blue exists or not. Some people think it's just a legend. The pH, climate, and temperature of seawater vary from sea to sea. From a scientific point of view, there is no place where an ocean can accommodate food from all seas. Zeph's eyes dimmed instantly, but then, Chin Luo said. Diaresis, but others believe that all blue is actually the area where the 5 currents of the upside-down mountain converge. Because the current is retrograde, the fast-moving seawater will wash all kinds of marine life on the upside-down mountain, thus converging into an area where there is a chance to find a variety of ingredients. This is not Chin Luo's nonsense, but a fact. When he heard about this controversy, he immediately agreed with the second view. Because someone happened to find or see a creature at the top of upside-down mountain that did not belong to the sea they set out from, Chin Luo wondered if someone had experienced the same thing a long time ago. Later, after years of rumors, the legend of all blue spread. Upside down the top of the mountain. Zeph frowned silently. Only passage for people to return to the 4 seas and the Great Route except for Marine, which has a ship that straddles the windless belt. For this explanation, Zeph also believed. But he still thinks in his heart that all blue is not that simple. In the deepest part of the sea, there is still a sea of miracles waiting to be discovered. Okay, don't bother with these annoyances, Mr. Zeph. Does all blue exist? It's better to use your own eyes to find the answer, rather than listen to what others say. Chin Luo tapped the plate lightly, making a crisp sound. Use your own eyes to find the answer. Zeph hesitated for a moment, then a hearty smirk appeared on his face. I see, thank you Shi Huang. You're welcome, it's my reward for letting me taste such delicious food. Next, the host and guests enjoyed themselves. Thanks for the hospitality. With the sound of ding dong, Chin Luo put down his hand, tore off the scarf and started to organize his clothes. Finally letting Shi Huang eat and drink enough, Zeph breathed a sigh of relief, and nodded quickly. First Emperor is very polite, your presence is an honor of our Bharati restaurant, and you will not be charged any fees. Well, then thank you Chef Zeph. Chin Luo, Vivi Isho, turned around and left. He knew that even if he insisted on paying the fee, the other party might not dare to accept the relationship. Chin Luo came to Bharati restaurant just to satisfy his wish and taste the food in this restaurant. When Chin Luo left, Zeph and the rest of the cooks breathed a sigh of relief, and finally sent the great god away. Chapter 235 Time, back after the Marineford War ended. On the sea, an ordinary pirate group slowly advanced. Cough, cough. Damn, Lao Su's plans were all messed up by that bastard Shi Huang. He bent over and vomited blood, and his black beard was covered in bruises. Now, when he recalled his father's angry expression, his eyes showed a trace of fear. Captain, maybe, we should consider changing to a devil fruit. Lafitte, who was also embarrassed, came to his senses at this time. This time, he completely escaped death. With the intervention of the first emperor, not only did we not get Whitebeard's devil fruit, but our path to becoming the 4th emperor was interrupted. After all, according to the default rules, if you want to become the 4 emperors, you must obtain the consent of the other 4 emperors. Otherwise, just a unilateral announcement will not have any effect at all, because no pirates will buy it. Now fortunately Big Mom is dead, otherwise, there would be no place. Captain, what shall we do next? The pirates who escaped from the 6th floor all looked at Blackbeard with malicious intent. Ziahaha, looking at Whitebeard's appearance, he has a few more years to live. Now he can't wait any longer. Then, let's start hunting. Be the 4th emperor first. After replanning, Blackbeard showed a strong ambition. Since the Junjun fruit is not available, then he will choose another devil fruit. As long as there is a secret fruit, everything is not a dream. At this moment, Blackbeard sticks out his fangs and stares at the world. Meanwhile, a day later, the Sabayati archipelago, a pirate crew in disguise, stopped here. Luffy, are you sure you want to apprentice? Can't you practice with me? Covered in his coat, Ace frowned as he looked at Luffy who was looking around. Ace. As soon as Luffy made a sound, Ace knocked him on the head with a chestnut. Keep your voice down. Ace, I want to be with Uncle Rayleigh, this is what I agreed with him. Luffy looked serious. Since this is your decision, then I will not stop you. After 3 years, we will meet again. At that time, the location of One Piece, King of Pirates. Grinning Isho, Ace smiled. Ace, I will definitely be One Piece, King of Pirates. Making a decision, Luffy turned around and disappeared directly into Ace's eyes. The incident has been connected to the original trajectory again, however, no one can predict what will happen in the next moment. Ace, let's go back. With Ace watching Luffy leave, Marco's tone was a little heavy. Let's go. I'll take Papa's hellish workout. Turning around, his face darkened. CGAC, Ace clenched his fist and made up his mind. Dad's time is running out. You must have the power of the 4 emperors in the next time. Are you really ready? Marco looked at Ace who seemed to have changed beside him, and couldn't bear it. Perhaps it won't be long before Chinluo, the 1st emperor, will challenge Kaido and Dad, and even the Marine World government. At that time, the world will fall into riots. I must improve my strength as soon as possible and have the power to maintain Dad's reputation, so even if I die, I will do it. Strong and sonorous, Ace's face is hideous, and a powerful will spreads out unstoppably. Don't worry, the brothers on the boat will accompany you. Without fighting for fame and fortune, the entire Whitebeard pirates seem to have decided that Ace is the successor of Dad. If it was before, there might have been some objections, but since Ace's identity was announced, no one objected. Some people even think that only Ace is qualified to be Dad's successor, and only Ace has the ability to lead the Whitebeard pirates to glory again, and even forever. And as Ace left, they didn't know that in the dark, a figure shrouded in black robes was watching Luffy leave. If you are approaching, you can even hear the man in black robe saying to himself, Luffy, the great era has begun. If you can become One Piece, King of Pirates, then you and my father and son will initially have the possibility to overthrow the world government. You don't want to let me down. At the same time, reports of the war on the top have spread all over the world in the past few days. At this point, the world rioted again, and it was extremely strange. And at the moment, in the dilapidated Marineford, Marine is also discussing the always important meeting, that is, the relocation of Marine headquarters to the New World. Dilapidated, many projects repaired, and the conference hall has not been fully repaired. At this time, there was little smoke and the atmosphere was full of depression. At a glance, you can see that the famous Marine Rear Admiral, Vice Admiral, Admiral, etc. outside are all wrapped in bandages, and the breath is extremely dazzling. Moreover, everyone's faces were gloomy, and they were obviously in a bad mood. Sitting in a high position, Sengoku was covered in bandages, took a deep breath, and said heavily, "This time, our marine has suffered a great loss." Looking around, Sengoku's eyes are full of anger and water mist. This war can be said to have brought a great burden to Marine. They started. Garp, Crane and the others were silent. No one dared to joke in this atmosphere. In addition to anger, there was only pain on everyone's face. In this war, our elite marine lost tens of thousands, and countless rear admiral died in battle, and vice admiral, more than 20, including a prospective admiral and a Kainu admiral killed in action. Quote. A loud bang, Sengoku slapped the table with his palm and gritted his teeth. In the end, because of the first emperor, the residents of Marineford were also killed and injured countless times, and the property damage caused is immeasurable. In this war, our marine lost a crushing defeat. Not only the headquarters was destroyed, but also faced disgrace. Most importantly, the riots caused by Impel Down made many vicious pirates escape. Angrier he couldn't help, Sengoku groaned, covered the corners of his mouth, and wiped away the trace of blood. Let's discuss the next policy. In the end, with the help of Crane, Sengoku calmed down the violently heaving chest. The blue veins spread on his hands, his face was cold, and he looked at the marines below, whose breaths were unstable. This time, our marine's prestige must have dropped a lot, so I suggest that the marine headquarters be moved to the New World. In the past, our marine had too many things to worry about, and when we did things, we were all tied up. This time, we must save Marine's Majesty. Moving to a new world is a good choice. Ambitious Marine Vice Admiral, glaring furiously, spoke her mind. Yes, we Marine must make changes. If we continue to worry about it, Marine will not have a bright future. The ambitious, standing up one after another, apparently agreed to move the headquarters to the New World. However, moving the headquarters to the New World will definitely attract the attention of the four emperors. Some conservatives frowned and pondered. After all, this decision affects the whole body and must be fully discussed. Humph, are you afraid? With the power of our marines, the four emperors alone, who would dare to provoke us? We were too worried before, so we ended up today. The ambitious sent his eyes sprayed fire, slapped the table, and blamed himself. What did you say? You just want to move the headquarters to the New World, but have you ever thought about it? How big is the resistance? His face flushed, and the conservative marine was also angry. What are you afraid of? I will fight if it's a big deal. For the sake of justice, what if I throw my life there? Brainless, if there is no careful planning, Marine will only lead to endless trouble if he acts rashly. Chapter 236_. The air was filled with the smell of gunpowder, and the whole hall was quarreling. Enough. Finally, Sengoku, who was in the first place, slapped the desk and roared, with blue veins throbbing on his forehead. Everyone, glaring at each other angrily, sat down panting heavily, all looking at Sengoku. I have contacted Gorosei, 5 elders before this. Meeting everyone's gazes, Sengoku said with a gloomy face, in order to restore Marine's prestige, the Gorosei 5 elders have given us the right to expand and recruit Marines, so get ready and move to the New World. This time, Sengoku has sunk the boat, and for the first time agreed to the ambitions strategy. Sengoku. Crane nodded, wanting to say something, but Sengoku shook his head and denied it. Because of Marine, it has reached the point where it cannot be broken. Since he has been the Marshal of Marine, he has been careful step by step, but the results obtained are bleak. So, this time he went out of his way. Even if he fights this old bone, he wants to let Marine regain the majesty he used to be. This time, because of Qin Luo's intervention, there have been many accidents in the future. For example, Sengoku did not resign as a marshal, and Marine has the right to expand and recruit troops. You know, this right, the Gorosei 5 elders have always controlled, because they are afraid of Marine being out of the control of the world government, so many times, they are contained. Until now, through the unacceptable situation, the power of the world government, they must increase, otherwise, they will be swallowed up by the times. After all, even the King of Heaven has used it now. If they are not prepared, then they will not be the supreme ruler of this sea. The person. Not only is Marine going to expand, but even the army is about to move. Because with the growing strength of the Revolutionary Army, many kingdoms have been brainwashed. Just like 800 years ago, they absolutely cannot tolerate it. And with the major decision on Marine's side, the recent Dark World has set off a bloody storm, or rather, weird. The junction of the Great Root and the New World, near the Sea of Sabayati Archipelago, a huge island, brightly lit, and very lively, is located here. Deep down, in a huge palace, the atmosphere at the moment is very strange. Luxurious, extreme, cherished, all kinds of decorations worth thousands of gold are placed here at will. And here is the base camp of several kings of the Dark World. Because of the 4 emperors, several kings formed an alliance, that is, because of the alliance, even the 4 emperors should give them a face. After all, these dark kings formed an alliance, and the power they possessed, even the 4 emperors, had to be weighed. It can be said that the combined forces of these dark kings are not as powerful as the 4 emperors, but the rest are not weaker than the 4 emperors. This is also the reason why they can still exist when the 4 emperors dominate the New World. Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo, who had been destroyed by the first emperor, there are still 5 kings in the Dark Realm. They are the Lone Shark Luffield, the Big News Morgans, the Deep Ocean Current Umit, the Hidden Master Gibson, the Dead Corpse Dragu Pai Kuro. But now, these 5 big men who subverted the Dark World, but their faces are gloomy and full of anger. Among them, the 4 of them all looked at Ocean King with red eyes, and with those eyes, they wished they could kill him. Umit, what you are doing is very inauthentic. We are still allies. Now, I can't wait to kill you. Like a noble gathering, a long table covered with delicious food, facing each other, 5 kings sat here with ugly faces. To the hated gazes of the 4, Umit, the Deep Ocean Current, just had an embarrassed face and didn't speak. As for why these 5 dark bosses are in strife, it has to start with the war at the top. A few days ago, Marineford, in that cruel battlefield, a red light, across the sky, landed on the Sabayati Archipelago at an extremely fast speed. Cough. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, his face was pale, red the aloof, his eyes were very gloomy, and his body was full of tyrannical breath. He didn't expect that just a little-known boy would have such power. With just 2 blows, his body would be seriously injured and whimpered. Although he said that he has not recovered to his peak, he is not someone who can threaten him. It can be said that he has lost all faith. If his strength hadn't recovered, everyone present would have died. With unbearable anger on his face, Earl Red forcibly put away the ripples in his heart and glanced around with his emerald red eyes. In his mind, some uncertainties merged with previous memories. This should be Sabayati Archipelago. I didn't expect it to change so much. If it wasn't for the peculiar appearance of the mangrove tree, the Red Earl might have been mistaken here. You must absorb fresh blood, otherwise, this injury will be difficult to heal. Kuihong's eyes were like poisonous snakes, scanning the surroundings. 00. It is clear that this is a remote part of the Sabayati Archipelago where life does not exist. Vivi frowned, and the powerful observation haki, like a dome, spread out, setting off a powerful storm. I found it. In an instant, a residual red shadow was left on the spot. At the same time, from the moment Red Earl released observation haki, in a bar in Sabayati Archipelago, a silver old man with glasses suddenly stopped with the glass in his hand, and his originally laid-back face suddenly became extremely dignified. This breath. Old man, this smell is a little familiar. At the bar, Shaki put down the rag and put down the wine glass with a solemn expression. The door is closed today, although it's a little uncertain, but it's his breath. Standing up, the originally cloudy eyes were instantly shrewd, and a wave of Ling ran, like a sharp sword, rushed into the sky. Got it. Shaki nodded, left the bar directly, and began to drive away the pirates who were drinking in the bar. Amid the whining, the bar closed. And at the moment when the bar closed, a red figure stopped in midair, holding a young woman in his hand. In the fearful eyes of the other party, 2 sharp teeth slammed into the woman's neck. Along with a burst of sand and dust, a mummified corpse fell to the ground. The mind is mixed. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, the Red Earl was a little unhappy, and was not very satisfied with the food on the ground. 2. Chapter 237 _ It was indeed near here just now. Could it be that I sensed it wrong? With some doubts, Earl Red stood in midair, looking at the surrounding houses, a little uncertain, because in the perception of observation hockey just now, he noticed a very familiar aura, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Forget it, let's find some delicious food for now. In addition, it's time to find some subordinates. I've suffered a loss, I won't eat it again, old friends, you all wait. The returned Red the Aloof, will be the Red the Aloof who will come to the world. Raising his right hand, his sharp fingertips were blood red, and the Red Earl grinned. He would never make a second mistake once. This time, he wants to build up a huge force to get back the humiliation he once suffered. In the dark decades of Impel Down, the Red Earl was their everyday introspection. Whenever he recalled his defeat at the beginning, he was full of anger. He lost not in strength, but in power. The former self, single-handedly, was on an equal footing with Roger and others, but, strictly speaking, there were many deficiencies. Like decades ago, when he was fighting against Kong. If he had the same subordinates as Kong, then he would not have been beaten up in the first place, resulting in the last one being unable to support himself, and finally being caught only if he was exhausted. Red the Aloof decades ago, it is absolutely impossible to have the idea of power, because he disdains it, but if it is the current Red the Aloof, he will not think so, because he has been isolated from the world for more than 10 years. The life in prison made him understand that a person will never rule the world, because the emperor who can rule the world is often accompanied by countless followers. It can be said that after decades of lonely life, the former Red the Aloof has changed a little, or figured it out. The residual red passed by and turned into a blood shadow, and the Red Earl disappeared in place. It really is him. At this moment, a string of windows in the previous bar opened, and a pair of eyes full of awe-inspiring aura showed a little shock. Red the Aloof Patrick Redfield. Behind him, Charlie's face was a little unsightly. She had some doubts before, but after seeing this figure, she was sure that this was the terrifying man. Trouble, the world's direction has begun to be unpredictable. Facing these strong men, Captain, Kinnear will really bring the world back to one. Closing the doors and windows, Rayleigh sat in his chair, thinking. Kaido of the Beasts, the first emperor, having these two mountains is enough to give people a headache, and now adding this man, it seems that the inheritance of will has a long way to go. Old man, the captain's bloodline still exists, should we choose again? Beside him, Shaki was smoking a cigarette, his face uncertain. No hurry, although it is reasonable to say that we should assist the captain's blood, but the Roger pirates have retired. The most important thing is that Galdiace is not in line with the captain's will. Thinking back to the Marineford scene, Rayleigh bluntly stated his plans. But, that's the captain's blood. Shaki got a little excited. Now, Ace doesn't need us, he has his own path. Only Monkey D. Luffy can meet the captain's will. Although we can't take action directly, we can still maintain it secretly. You mean? Shaki was uncertain. You think right, the Whitebeard guy wants to train Ace to become his heir, so we can't interfere, and maybe Ace is in the hands of Whitebeard to release the captain's original heroic appearance. We just need to pay more attention. Just a moment, now is not the time to disturb him. Now, Ace is safe, we will have a chance to meet in the future. With his eyes narrowed, Rayleigh was very sure. Although he is also very excited now, he does not plan to see Ace right away. That little straw hat. If the little straw hat is really the one who inherits the captain's will, then he will definitely come here. Let's wait and see. If that's the case, let's stay for a few more days. No matter what the final direction of the world is, D.S. will never be cut off. Ace, you have the most free blood in the world, now, you should inherit that guy's will. I believe it will not be long before, you two brothers, you will recreate the wish of your ancestors 8 years ago, so that the world will be united, unimpeded, equal and free. Over the Sabayati archipelago, the Red Earl turned into a bewitching red light and landed in the bustling area in an instant, which is the most chaotic place in Sabayati archipelago. Since the idea of establishing power, the Red Earl has an idea, which is to use absolute power to rudely regain some big powers. As long as he controls the bosses of these big powers, he can build his own power in a short period of time. Although it's a little unstable, Earl Red has that arrogance, because as long as he doesn't die, then no matter how strong the force is, he can suppress it. This is absolute strength. Any conspiracy and tricks, if you don't want to match the conditions, you won't be able to turn the palm of your hand. You must know that the former Red Earl can be on an equal footing with Golden Lion, Roger, Whitebeard, etc. By only one person. It can be seen from the side that the strength of the Red Earl is likely to be higher than the former. At least, Whitebeard, Golden Lion could not suppress the Red Earl. Although the Red Earl's strength has not recovered yet, the preliminary estimate is that the Quasi-Emperor's strength has been restored to its original strength. With this strength, he does not hesitate to say that unless the Emperor takes action, the Red Earl is the Emperor. This world has really changed a lot. There were battles happening everywhere. The Red Earl was walking on the street, looking at the pictures of killing and robbing all around. On that evil face, there was a touch of cruelty in the gully. Bang! Why don't you have long eyes? At this moment, a rude big man, a scar slanted across his face, looking extremely ferocious, and accidentally wiped the Red Earl's shoulder. Vivi raised his head, his emerald red eyes were full of teasing, and Earl Red looked at the big man taller than himself. Without hesitation, he shot directly. PFF'd. With the sound of flesh and blood, the big man suddenly widened his pupils, spurted blood from his mouth, and reached out to grab the Red Earl, but he was only halfway up, his head tilted, and he lost his voice. After splashing some dust, the Red Earl dropped the big man like throwing garbage, with a very disgusted expression, because a drop of this guy's dirty blood splashed on his sleeve. As for sucking the blood of the big man, that is simply impossible. Because the Red Earl is withdrawn, first of all, the blood must be of a woman, and the heart must be pure. As for such a big man, even obliterating his hands is a little dirty. Chapter 238 Observation hockey, covered again. The next moment, the figure of the Red Earl disappeared directly. At the same time, in an incomparably luxurious palace, the place is guarded and exudes an extremely terrifying atmosphere. It can be said that this place is one of the forbidden places of Sabayati archipelago, because he is one of the most powerful kings in the dark world. The deep ocean current's mansion appeared above this mansion out of thin air, because according to Earl Red's perception, there is a good subordinate here, and he can be regarded as a strong man. As soon as he appeared, the Red Earl was discovered. On the ground, countless people in special black uniforms raised their guns and aimed them at the Red Earl. A group of scum. A boundless will descended, the entire venue was silent, and the Red Earl entered a brightly lit room like no one else. At this time, in the room, a man who was dealing with affairs changed his face and was about to leave. However, the next moment he paused, looking at him sitting on the sofa with a terrified expression, and looking at him with a sly smile. Man. Read the aloof Patrick 26 Redfield. Forcibly suppressing his beating heart, the deep ocean currents were chilling all over his body, and he looked at the evil man in disbelief. How could this guy appear here? He whom knew nothing about the matter of the war. He knew the horror of the man in front of him. He didn't even need to fight. He knew that he was definitely not the one man's opponent. After all, the gap between the two sides is too obvious. Otherwise, he would not have chosen to leave directly because of that conqueror, but now, it is impossible to leave. I don't know, the legendary Red Earl, what's going on down there? Taking a deep breath, Umit grinned Isho and walked to the sofa opposite the Red Earl. Intend to sit down. No matter what, Umit is also the King of Darkness, and it is impossible for him to be so frightened that he cannot move because of the legend of the Red Earl. Who let you sit? Leaning on the sofa, Earl Red crossed Erlang's legs with a cold face, causing the surrounding space to be heavy. The originally smiling face froze, Umit clenched his hands tightly, and a murderous intent couldn't stop in his heart. Ha ha, As expected of a legend in the past. The originally gloomy face changed instantly, and Umit laughed, alleviating the embarrassment, but did not sit down. I ask myself, Umit, there is no place to offend your excellency Red Earl. I don't know why. Enduring, Umit forced himself to calm down, because he didn't want to have a bad relationship with this man. Sabayati Archipelago, it seems that your strength is not bad, just passing. Like an emperor, the Red Earl's emerald eyes are full of contempt for Umit. The meaning has almost formed the substance. Give you a choice, surrender, or die. When Earl Red said the first sentence, Umit felt a chill in his heart, and a bad premonition spread all over his body. Sure enough, before Umit could react, Earl Red said the next sentence. Surrender or die. Humiliation, naked humiliation, as the king of the dark world, he has always been in a high position, how could Umit surrender? For this reason, Umit no longer hides, and his face was ashen on the spot, exuding murderous aura. Go to hell. Suddenly, there was no warning at all, Umit made a strong shot, wanting to kill the Red Earl in one fell swoop. The streamer sounded, and Umit's pitch-black fist seemed to swirl the airflow, shaking the atmosphere, and blasted away at the head of the Red Earl. It's too much. Sitting on the sofa, Earl Red raised his eyes in disdain. The black umbrella in his hand turned into an afterimage and slammed directly into Umit's fist. The next moment, the entire room collapsed, and a hurricane ignited endless smoke and rose into the sky. This sudden explosion directly alarmed the main film area. For this reason, countless eyes from the outside world were directly projected into it. You know, it is the territory of deep ocean current Umit, who dares to make trouble there. PFF'd. In the smoke and dust in the sky, a figure suddenly flew out of it, and his face was extremely pale. Wiping the blood from the corners of his mouth, Umit's face was gloomy, his eyes fixed on the sound of footsteps slowly coming from the dust. Submit, or die. The emerald red eyes were like fallen angels, and the Red Earl looked down at Umit with a calm expression. If you want me to surrender, then see if you have that ability. Letting go of everything, Umit exuded a powerful aura, a stream of air, constantly spinning, extremely strange. Old things, legends are legends, and now is not your time. Taking the lead, at this moment, Umit no longer needs to worry about anything. As Umit became angry, the airflow in the entire sky began to riot, and a special powerful force began to sweep into the air. Half squinting, feeling the viscous change in the air, the Red Earl couldn't help but give Umit a high look. Although I don't know what the other party's ability is, 700 is enough to impress the Red Earl just because it can affect the airflow. This guy is pretty good. With the riots here, some outlaws stopped to watch, all wanting to see who dared to provoke the king of the dark world. That's... A pirate stopped, his face full of shock. The strange appearance, evil eyes, and powerful aura all prove that this man is a legendary existence. Why is Red the Aloof here? Is that the legendary Red Earl who is on an equal footing with One Piece, King of Pirates and Whitebeard? Just standing there, I feel a pressure. I don't know who wins and who loses, the deep ocean current and Red the Aloof, an old legend, a new generation king. He ignored the surrounding bystanders, whether it was the Red Earl or Umit. Compared to Umit's anger and heaviness, the Red Earl seemed a little picky. Hooking his fingers, the Red Earl showed a trace of disdain. Although the other party's breath was very strong, it was not enough for him. The king is the king, and the king is still far away. And his Red Earl, although he has not recovered to his heyday, he is still the emperor. Chapter 239 _ Old thing, go to hell. He clenched his fists, and the vast force turned, a shock wave of white airflow, tearing the ground, facing the Red Earl, and slammed away. There was only strong contempt in Kui Hong's eyes. The Red Earl turned his hand, the pitch-black umbrella was opened, and it was covered with arms. With the sound of bombing, a plume of smoke, dust, and gravel rose into the sky. Hit. Is it resolved? Around, some pirates clenched their fists, feeling a little excited. Legend, it's old after all, just like Whitebeard. The endless dust dissipated, and everyone stared at the battle center, fearing that they would miss a wonderful scene. Indifferently putting away the black umbrella, Earl Red looked at the two ravines moving out from under his feet, and there was a hint of grimness in those emerald red eyes. He didn't expect that the other party could repel him, even if it was only a few steps. That would be a shame. The next moment, a strange red light disappeared, and in place, the afterimage of Earl Red disappeared. PFF'd. The blood splashed into the sky. Umit bent over and coughed blood uncontrollably. His whole body couldn't stop it. Like a cannonball, a crack formed in a gully on the ground and crashed into a mangrove tree. Putting away his right foot, the Red Earl appeared on the ground before Umit, with a disappointed expression on his face. The ground rioted, the shattered surface ripped apart, and Umit stood up in embarrassment. His face full of dirt was unbelievable, because he had never captured the other party's figure before. Even though observation hockey had been operating at a high level, he still couldn't find the other party, which made Umit feel a sense of powerlessness. Suddenly, between instincts, Umit's face changed greatly, and without hesitation, he rolled on the spot, then moved sideways in the air, dodging aside. With Umit's departure, the place exploded violently, and a blood-red figure condensed and formed. His speed. With a solemn expression, Umit's heart was at a trough. Around, some pirates didn't know what happened at all, because they only saw the ground explode, and then the Red Earl appeared there. Violent riots. Under the ghostly figure of Earl Red, Umit had no power to parry at all, but for a moment, he was covered in color, and he could only avoid by feeling. As long as he wasn't blind, he could see that Umit was about to lose. Is this the legend that once stood on a par with One Piece, King of Pirates, the strongest man in the world? Even the Dark King can only be exhausted, and it is only a matter of time before he loses. A few minutes later, the whole ground was in a mess, and the surrounding mangroves collapsed and broke. At the very center, Umit was lying on the ground covered in blood, and on his chest, a big foot, like a giant mountain, pressed against him. Out of breath. The other party is really too strong. Looking at the final result, the people around held their breath, not even daring to breathe. In a remote place, on a mangrove tree, an old man with no breath, wearing reading glasses, frowned. This guy, is he trying to get his subordinates diaresis? Looking at the blood-red figure in the center of the battle, Rayleigh had a bad premonition. You know, this guy is a lone ranger. How could he suddenly think of building up a force? A person is so terrifying. If this is to build up power, it will be the rhythm of the four emperors. Could it be that this guy has figured it out? Bowing his head and raising his eyebrows, if this guy really wants to build power, then things will develop out of control. The world is really getting more and more chaotic. Suddenly, perhaps sensing something, in the center of the battlefield, the Red Earl suddenly cast his gaze to Rayleigh's hiding place. I was shocked, and for a while, the eyes of the two sides met. Looking at this old and familiar figure, Red Earl Vivi squinted his eyes, and a sly smile appeared on his face. Immediately, a will of the Emperor that dominates the world, like a wild beast, with a natural disaster-like impact, rushed to Rayleigh. At the same time, inspired by the Red Earl, an equally huge and deep conqueror spread from the forest. In an instant, the entire sky was dim, black clouds rolled, and countless dark red thunders, like thunder snakes, continued to spread. All around, countless people watching were foaming, their eyes were white, and they fell to the ground one after another. Taking a deep look at the Red Earl, Rayleigh turned around, jumped off the mangrove tree, and disappeared at the end. Because he had no reason to fight the Red Earl now, Rayleigh retreated directly. And watching Rayleigh leave, the Red Earl did not stop him. If it was the past, he might reminisce, but now is not the time, because in the future, there will be time. Submit, or die. Stepping on Umit, Earl Red's emerald eyes were full of indifference. If Umit dared to say no, then death would await him. The endless conqueror, like a sharp sword, pierced through Umit's heart, Feeling the pressure of that day, Yumit's face was covered in blood, his teeth were clenched, and he looked at the Red Earl angrily. Have a backbone, then, you can die. Sensing Yumit's hatred look, the Red Earl raised his black umbrella with disdain on his face. This is not a joke. On the spot, Yumit's pupils shrank, and the struggle in his eyes was unobstructed. I surrender. The pitch-black umbrella tip was close at hand, and at the last moment, Yumit gave up his struggle, because he didn't want to die, and when he died, there was nothing left. In the face of life, he gave up pride and self-respect. Ants are still alive, let alone people. Very sensible. I thought you would continue to persevere, to be honest, full of disappointment. In his eyes, full of contempt, the Red Earl put away his umbrella and left Yumit's side. Standing up with difficulty, Yumit lowered his head. Deep in those eyes, a murderous intent lurked endlessly. Although he surrendered on the surface, Yumit was still unwilling in his heart. As long as he had the chance, he would definitely want this man to die. The battle was over, leaving behind a fainted spectator, and the figures of the Red Earl and Yumit gradually disappeared from a distance. Diaresis Ziahaha, I didn't expect that just after leaving Marineford, I met the legendary man, read the aloof Patrick Redfield. In the hidden jungle, on a huge mangrove tree, a line of people with strange shapes stood here. Captain, I heard that the Red Earl ate own mythical Bato no Mi model, Vampire's devil fruit. As long as he sucks blood, he can stay immortal and his strength can remain at its peak. This devil fruit is comparable to shock. The shock fruit is much stronger. Lafitte put down the telescope in his hand, with greed in his eyes. Yes, I think only this devil fruit can be worthy of your status as captain. The fighting champion Burgess sneered. Captain, Whitebeard can still breathe for a few years now, we can't wait forever. According to the rules, if we want to become the power of the 4 emperors, we must let the other 4 emperors acquiesce, but with our current strength, there are still some shortcomings. Jaws. Kaido of the Beasts, Red Shanks, First Emperor Qin Luo, and Whitebeard are all an insurmountable mountain, and now there is a lack of one of the 4 emperors' positions, which is our opportunity, but now it seems that we have to add on this Red the Aloof. Quote. I didn't expect that the legendary Lone Ranger would actually build up power. This news is not good news for us. Talking and talking, everyone's expressions are a little dignified. Ziahaha, immortal and immortal, always maintain the peak. He murmured in his mouth, and the Blackbeard stared at the direction where he could no longer see the figure. The original plan began to change. If the Red Earl hadn't appeared, then Blackbeard's goal might not have changed much, but now Whitebeard still has room to spare, and if he wants to get the shock fruit, it will only be a long way off. The chance to get the shaking fruit has been lost, and his Blackbeard can't be dormant anymore, because he doesn't know when Whitebeard will die, and he doesn't know when he will have the chance to go to war. So, looking at the Red Earl now, Blackbeard's thoughts began to change. Chapter 240 Kaido of the Beasts, Uo no Mi mythical model, Seryu ability, Qin Luo, the First Emperor, tyrannical thunder ability, mysterious swordsmanship ability, blazing Shenhuang. 3 strange abilities combined, belong to unknown. Whitebeard Edward, strongest human type, the fruit of shock, Bigmom, the most bizarre ability, the fruit of soul and soul. Red Earl, the most subversive mythical Bato no Mi. Captain, I think you can choose one of these abilities. Except for the whereabouts of the soul and soul fruit are unknown, we can deprive one of them of their ability, and step on their corpse to become the 4th emperor. At that time, we will only be one step away from the captain's ambition. Ziahaha, originally, the strongest man-type Junjun fruit was my favorite, but because of the 1st emperor, we fell short, and now we don't have as good a chance as Marineford. I don't want to be pulled down by that monster dad in the end. Hell. Blackbeard's face was gloomy, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. So, the captain is going to give up the fruit of shock. The evil king of Alo frowned. I can only give up now. I've wasted more than 10 years, and I can't wait, otherwise I won't be waiting. Blackbeard frowned, although he really wanted to get the shocking fruit, but that must also be realistic. Even if Whitebeard was only hanging with one breath now, Blackbeard didn't dare to go to Whitebeard, because he knew how terrible that man was. The captain, whose ability did you take a fancy to? Everyone became curious. 700. Kaido of the Beasts, First Emperor, Red the Aloof. Names came to mind, and Blackbeard thought. Captain, I think the ability of Red the Aloof is most suitable for you. As long as you have fresh blood, you will be immortal and your strength will be maintained at its peak. Also, looking at the battle just now, this devil fruit has a very fast speed. Crescent Moon Hunter Katarina, rubbing her chin, gave a suggestion to the contemplative Blackbeard. Captain, I don't think the ability of Red the Aloof is suitable for you. First, everything of that devil fruit is based on blood. As far as I know, the purity of blood must be maintained above purity. The most important thing is, Captain, you already have the characteristics of the dark fruit, the only thing you lack is the attack power, not to mention, there are many devil fruits that can achieve immortality, such as the fruit of surgery, the fruit of life. However, in response to Katarina's suggestion, Bucks, who was standing beside him, took a sip of strong wine, and then said drunkenly. The barrel is right, Captain, you want to get the shock fruit because of its strong destructive power, but looking at Red the Aloof, except for immortality and extremely fast speed, the attack power doesn't seem to be surprising. After the analysis of the wine barrel, everyone frowned. But if we give up on Red the Aloof, we're left with a choice between Kaido of the Beasts and the First Emperor. Mythical of Kaido of the Beasts, with autonomous protection, I'm not sure if my dark fruit can make his power disappear. Thinking back on everything about Kaido of the Beasts, Blackbeard wasn't 100% sure. What do you mean? Captain, isn't your ability to incapacitate the ability person? Why are you not sure about Kaido of the Beasts? The crowd was puzzled. You may not know that Kaido of the Beasts is not afraid of seawater. The more Blackbeard thought about it, the more he thought Kaido was weirder than him. Captain, are you sure you're not joking? Do you think I'm joking? That monster has challenged Dad countless times, but every time he was defeated by Dad, but Dad couldn't do anything about him. Throwing it into the sea and using sea stone can't deal with Kaido. Inflict damage, not to mention, I have seen the guy swimming in the ocean with my own eyes. Quote. The sea stone is useless to it, and my ability is similar to that of the sea and sea stone, so I'm not sure if I can stop Kaido. Then apart from these uncertain factors, we only have two goals left. Everyone looked at each other and said in unison, First Emperor, Red the Aloof. The First Emperor's ability has powerful destructive power, can control the Logia flame, and has high speed, and Zone's powerful characteristics. If the captain gets this ability, then he has two Logia abilities at the same time, darkness and fire. And Zone's powerful vitality and so on. Quote. The main thing is that if you get this ability, Captain, you also have the power to match the shock fruit. Lafitte Isho. You mean, everyone seemed to think of something. Destroy Dressrosa, all nations, and this time almost destroying Marineford. Lafayette raised his head and motioned everyone to look at the older star. Sun. Everyone took a deep breath, especially Blackbeard, who revealed naked greed in CGAC eyes. After Lafitte mentioned it, he remembered the horror of the First Emperor's ability. Destroy large islands with one blow, collapse large islands, think about it, if the captain has this ability, then the world will be at your fingertips. Except for the shock fruit, only the First Emperor Chinluo has the ability to destroy the world. Kaido of the Beasts can't do it, and Red the Aloof can't do it either. The abilities of Kaido of the Beasts and Red the Aloof can only be displayed to individuals, and their abilities cannot cause damage. Only the shock fruit and the three-legged divine bird are capable of integrating offense, defense, and strong destruction. Captain, if you insist on choosing one, I think the First Emperor's ability is the most suitable for you. Lafitte is right. I already have the most ferocious devil fruit. What I lack is attack power, destructive power, and resilience. The first Emperor Qin Luo's ability fits perfectly. Captain means to collect information on the first Emperor pirates, we need to create a battle of the emperors. The city of the Black World, the initial contact, probably most of the world does not know what it means. However, for some forces, here is the darkness of the world. As the name suggests, this is the dark part of the world, where all illegal acts, transactions, and evil are concentrated. Because of its special area, it connects both sides of the Great Root and the New World. The most important thing is that even the world government has no ability to eradicate it. Just because this is the center of the dark world, all bloody and evil transactions are generated here. As we all know, the Great Root and the Four Seas are all under the rule of the world government, and the New World is the territory of the four emperors. Of course, the world is so big, it is impossible to say absolutely. Just like the Four Seas, even under the eyes of the world government, there are some illegal organizations. Such as Mafia, Germa 66. And the Great Root, compared to the Four Seas, there are interlaced forces, like the endless number of ant nests, the most powerful of which belongs to the King of the Dark World. The main site of the Dark King is the city of the Black World. As for the New World, the most powerful forces are the four emperors and other pirates. Let me mention now that the dark forces in the New World are also ruled by the Dark King. In other words, the shady deals of the Great Root and the New World are all ruled by these kings. This is also why, even the four emperors, sometimes give these kings face. Because if these kings disappear, the whole world will be affected, because the transactions that are born from the dark world every day can be said to be unimaginable. To put it simply, in the dark world, the wealth that is shot every minute and every second is almost tens of billions is the starting unit. It is conceivable to imagine the benefits contained in it. The most important thing is that whether it is the world government, the four emperors, or the revolutionary army, they are inextricably linked with the dark world, that is, transactions. In such a large dark world, several powerful figures have been born in the past few years. They formed an alliance and jointly governed most of the dark world. They are the kings of the dark world, the underground bosses. Lonefield, the king of loan sharks. World News King Morgans. Sea King Umet. Warehouse Industry Gibson. Funeral Home Dragu Pai Kuro. _ And Shichibukai Doflamingo, the king who was finally destroyed by the first emperor.